We are live, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing tonight? I was going to do a members live tonight, but we are running out very late, very late, way later than I wanted to. So we'll just do one later this week. Happy Mother's Day tomorrow to any mothers in here. Henry, that's you. We're about to sharpen some knives up. Let me see. Let me pull this up over here. Hopefully this volume's turned down on this thing. There we go. So how you guys doing tonight? We're going to sharpen up some 3V steel. I don't even need to sharpen it, but I want. Oh, all right. What's going on, Bryant? How you guys doing? You like this? Better this. So I'm going to bust out some sharpening stones here in just a minute, and I will rotate you guys so you guys can see all the sharpening up close and everything. We'll be doing that here in just a second. I was trying to run 2 cameras on this one, but we're only running 1. We'll be all right, though. We're going to bust out some stones, and we are going to be sharpening up some 3V, some of Worksharp's 3V. Now, like I said, I don't need to sharpen up. It's still very sharp, but I want to. I really want to. I love 3V. I like sharpening 3V. And I want to test their 3V. So we're going to see how this does. Awesome knife, by the way. These are dropping at Blade Show Atlanta. I think they'll also be on the site at that time. They have a whole bunch of them that'll be at the show, and then even more probably on their site. So if you guys aren't going to the show, what's up, Keystone? Joey, thank you guys for joining. So we're going to be using tonight first off, some Atomas, and then we might switch to some vitrifieds or some other resin bonded diamond stones. I am testing these very affordable ones, these ones that are like $70 for an entire pack. If you watched Outdoors 55, he just did a full review on these ones, which are resin bonded diamond stones. Now this is their new set, which is supposed to be, I think, a little bit better, but I don't know. I haven't tested them yet, but I want to test them. They have like this texture on them that's a little different, almost like a webbing. And then I see there's 2 different colors. I see a red and a green, and then each one is a different color too. So it's pretty it's interesting. It's different. It almost feels, the finer you get, it almost feels like tape. Like it feel like a resin bonded diamond stone, but it is some sort of resin bonded diamond. So I'm very interested in it. This is like regular resin bonded diamond. You can see the diamonds. But those are very affordable. Most affordable resin bonded diamonds you're gonna be able to find. Now we're doing freehand tonight, or at least we're starting out that way. I'm not sure how we'll end, but we're gonna do some freehand sharpening. So we're gonna use some larger stones. Man, I used to have a lot of knives. Now I only have a single Bryant knife. Oh, no way, Gray Wolf. You got to do better than that. You got to do better than that. Yeah, that sucks. Because Browning, I just recently did a video on Browning knives. And not trying to dog you out or anything, or dog them out, but it didn't go so well. They're just low quality knives, like consider them the bottom of the barrel type of knives. They're for specifically, and I'm not talking shit, so don't even take me like that. If you stick around, we do giveaways here on the 15th on Whatnot. I'm doing a live auction, probably my best auction yet. I'm talking about, I'm gonna have badass knives on there, sharpening supply, USA made stuff. Like there's gonna be a lot of badass shit. The 15th. So if you haven't been to one of the shows, that's the one to go to. But the Brownings, I think of them as somebody who doesn't know knives, right? Or somebody who either doesn't know knives, doesn't understand knives, or is a first-time knife buyer. Somebody who doesn't even know steels or anything like that. They wouldn't know the difference. Don't go into the edge at 5,000 grit and above. or it will cut the material. We're talking about those bonded stones. Well, I got the two different ones, but yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I see what you're saying. You're saying don't go into it, pull away. Yeah, that's the way you want to do it with I can't think what they're called, the 3M strips or whatever. It's the same way. You when you're sharpening, when you get to the finer grits, you don't push in, you pull away. But with resin bonded diamond stones, you can pull away. So I don't know how those are going to be. I'm kind of curious now that you said that. Do you have those specific ones, the ones that have the webbing? Hey, I just want to say all of your knife influencers inspired me to start making on EDC review kind of deal. Very cool. You? Oh yeah, that's awesome, man. If you need any tips or anything, let me know. I'm here to help. If you got anything you want to ask right now, just let me know. It's easy for me to talk and say it than write and say it. I usually, when people message me and stuff, I usually voice message them back. I'm just moving this around so you guys can see me because I'm reading the chat. We'll get the sharpening here in 1 second. Eric, what are your thoughts on Spy 27? Man, I don't know a lot about it, to be honest. It's like I've tested like 90% of all the steels religiously, but then there's just like a couple that I just haven't tested. Like I've sharpened Spy 27, but not enough to say I've tested it. You know, like I've had it in for sharpening when I ran a sharpening service. So that was my biggest experience with it. So I wasn't like doing edge retention tests or anything. So it's hard to say. In those cases, I took whoever I was sharpening for what they wanted. They wanted polished edge, I'd give it. I just got my Spyderco Sage 6 button lock. How do you like it, man? I almost got it. I want to get that thing so bad. It looks dope. Hey, Bob Rutledge, shout out to you, man. Thank you for the 10 bombs. I appreciate it. Hell yeah. Shout out to the Downey. I appreciate the support very much. Hello, friends. I've noticed that 3V is pretty popular in the States, but in Scandinavia, don't have much 3V. We have ADCRV2, which is a tough tool steel. I don't know if they differ much. Yeah, so this is the thing. ADCRV2 is only tough. That's the thing. The reason why 3V is so awesome is because one, it's extremely tough, but two, it holds a good edge, which ADCRV2 does not. Like if you do a scale out of 10, 0 to 10, right? 10 being the best, 0 being the worst. ADCRV2 is like a 1 to a 2. 3V would be like a 5 to 5, 5 or a 6. And then when you get to the corrosion resistance, yeah, it's not very corrosion resistant, but it's still like a 4.5 to a 5. While an ADCRV2 is 0. I think it's like a 0.5 or something. Like it's not even 1 out of 10. So those are the big differences. So 3V would be considered the premium tough steel. If you want a tough steel, it's a premium steel, you go 3V. Otherwise, you go Magna Cut. That's another one. And then if you want to go with a budget-friendly, super tough steel that holds a great edge and has good corrosion resistance, you go Nitro V or 14C28N. 14C is a phenomenal steel. Very, very tough. Yes, I have those ones. And once I got to 5,000 grit, I went to the edge and cut it. Yeah. Told the company, they said do edge trailing passes. I think they might have told me that too with those. Is 3V any good? I love 3V. So 3V to me, well, it's specifically this thing. It's not technically for folding knives, right? It's really more of a hard use. However, sometimes the qualities of a hard use steel really well in folding knife steels if you like certain things. One thing I love about my pocket knives is the ability to take the sharpness. So how well does it sharpen? But not only how well does it sharpen, how well does it get sharp? Like meaning like any steel can get sharp, but some steels, it's just edge stability, right? It's basically how far can you stretch that edge bevel out, and the farther you can get that, the sharper it is. While all steels can get sharp, some feel dull compared to the really sharp ones, you know, when you're putting them together. So 3V, because of its insane toughness and its ability to still hold a really good edge, its edge stability is very high. So I can do low edge angles on these. I can do super fine polished edges and keep the bite. They don't get slick or anything like that. So I love 3V for folding knives and for fixed blades. I think there's certain steels that are just great all around, and 3V is definitely one of them in my opinion. Hey, thank you, man. Kayla donated 2 bones. Love your content, and I freaking thank you. I appreciate it. What do you think of CTS BD1? And it's a budget steel. You don't want to pay over $100 for it typically. It's a I put it in like the same category as like 10 CR basically, maybe a little bit better. 154 CM, you can put it in the same, same bucket as those. Not saying that they perform the exact same, but I'm saying as far as like edge retention and just performance in that regard. Thanks, Jared. Is there anything I need to know about sharpening a coated blade? If you're using brand new diamond plates, don't. So anytime when you're using brand new diamond plates, you don't want to do a coated blade. You want to break your stones in first. So like after like 5 or 6 sharpenings on those stones, it'll be fine. But when you get a diamond plate for the first time and you start going across it, the diamonds can like spring out because there's like loose ones on top that are just gonna fall off. So they'll kind of like shatter and like kind of fly, and sometimes they'll hit the coating, especially if you're using a fixed angle system and especially if you're going fast. So if you are using new diamond stones and you are doing a coated blade, you can get away with not scratching it. Just take your time, go slow, don't go really fast, and keep taking a clean wipe and wiping it off. 3V crew wear magna cut the Holy Trinity. There you go. Yeah, crew wear is another one, man. Freaking love that steel. Um, Drop a like, y'all. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yes, please hit the like button. I do appreciate it very much. So, you know how much the worst sharp knife would be at once. Do I know how much? Fuck, no, you know why? Because they didn't know. So the thing was they originally did know, but because of tariffs, because remember they get stuff sourced and then they build it at the factory. So they weren't positive on the prices themselves. But they did originally know, but then they weren't wanting to say until they had more information. So I personally do not know. Just got a PM2 Rec 76. Oh yeah. Badass. What would be your preferred steel for a tomahawk? Probably 3B. So it depends. If you're wanting a tomahawk for chopping wood, and you just want super tough steel, you don't worry about edge retention because edge retention has nothing to do with like impact, right? So like I could take a knife and hit it into wood all I want for the most part, and it's not getting dull. It'll still cut paper just fine for the most part, right? Obviously, geometry is a big part there. So toughness is the biggest thing for impact, which if that's what you're doing, chopping wood and stuff like that, then you'd want to just a tough steel. 80 CRV2. If you want something a little more stainless, if you want like go to the top of the line, then I would say Magna Cut, 3V, Crew Wear. Those are the steels you'd want. If you want to go with a budget steel that's also still a premium type of steel or that, you'd go 14C28M. Now, those you're typically not going to find those in Tomahawk. Typically, Tomahawks are going to be in 1095, things like that. 80 CRV2, shit like that. Super, super tough steels and or very, very affordable steels. How do you sharpen knives like flay knives that are really bendy and difficult to maintain? Very carefully. I know what you're asking, and I'll show you here in 1 second. Finally, it's a YouTube official. 2 years. Jared got the knives in, and I have to tell you that you outdid yourself. You checked multiple boxes of my wish list. Fuck yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. Been a member for 24 months. Rickert, glad you liked it. Glad you liked it. He just got a package in the mail because he's been a member with the Rocksteads for 2 years, so he got a premium knife. Um, Yo, Neves, what knives does your mom like considering it's close to Mother's Day? She's not much of a knife person. She likes kitchen knives. My mom likes to cook. What's up, Larry? Thanks for joining. Todd, appreciate you, brother, always. Jason, been a member for 12 months. Says, "Sup, Jared? I know you like to use soapy water, but what is the benefit of that over oil for a fixed angle sharpener?" So, two things. One, oil smells it has a scent to it, and it can get on stuff, and it's just not gonna smell pleasant. Another thing is you're using, say, a stone. This isn't for resin bonded stones, by the way. Resin bonded stones, I just wouldn't use oil. The soapy water works just as good. The point of the soapiness, it puts like an oiliness in the water. So it basically kind of makes it more oily, so it lifts the particles up. Oil is typically used, and I know some bonded stones recommend honing oil and stuff, but typically aluminum oxide stones and silicon carbide stones are the ones that are using oil. And the reason why is to keep particles out from the insides of the stone. But here's the thing: once you've used oil, it impregnates the stone, and now you can't use soap or soapy water. Now you can't use just water. You have to use oil, or you have to degrease it by boiling it, and it's it's a bunch of shit you got to do to clean it out. So if it was an oil stone, I would use oil, right? But if it's not an oil stone and it's just like a wet, like a splash and go or something like that, water stone, I like soapy water. Soapy water just works better, unless if it's specifically a water stone. All right, we're about to pull this stuff out. Larry says my wife got the concept she got from you on the Whatnot auction. It is awesome. Thanks, man. Hell yeah, Larry. Very happy to hear that. Happy to hear that. Thank you, Todd. Mark P says, "Hey, Jared, I feel like sometimes when I sharpen, I remove a lot of steel. Seems like a couple of knives, I only get 2 or 3 sharpenings before it's noticeable. What am I doing wrong?" Okay, so that is common when you first start sharpening. You are going to remove far more steel than you need to when you first start sharpening. Now, I wouldn't care when you're really beginning, but over time, when you start doing more and more sharpening, start caring about it, right? Because it will affect your edge, the life of your knife, right? Like in the beginning, you're just learning how to sharpen, so it doesn't matter. Don't worry about the life of the knife. Worry about learning how to sharpen. Once you've got it down, now start focusing on being patient, but also being consistent. Because the reason why you spend more time on a stone, typically, because you're not consistent. You're doing inconsistencies that are leading to imperfections, and then you're trying to get those imperfections out, and it's just like you know running around in circles, basically trying to get this out and this out, and you finally get it all, and there'll be one little piece, and that's me for sure because I'm very nitpicky on my edges, so like I hold them to a very high standard. So edges that most people would be perfectly fine with, I go crazy about and I want to fix. Even though it doesn't need to be fixed. So don't be like me, please. Don't be like me. It's a sickness. But when you're on a fixed angle system, then typically it's just going to be you are probably starting too low of an angle for how thick the knives are. So the thicker it is, the lower the angle you do, the longer it's going to take. And if you go too low, like say if your knife is like 30 thousandths behind the edge or 40 thousandths behind the edge, and you go with a 15-degree edge, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time, and you might not even think like a 30,000, 30,000 behind the edge isn't very thick because it's thick, but it's not that thick. So when you start talking about 15-degree edge bevels, it's getting thick. So make sure your burrs are small. Go with anytime once you know what a burr feels like, as soon as you get a burr, it's done, right? Because the point is just when you're sharpening is to get the two sides to meet in the middle, right? Because you're shaving off steel, right? It already meets in the middle, but remember, it's messed up. So you're putting a new bevel on it. So you're sharpening both sides once again until they meet up. Once they meet, one of the sides is going to roll over, and which is going to be the opposite side you're on. So if you're sharpening this side, it's going to roll over to this side. So it's going to just like that, right? And once that happens, even if it's very little and it's barely a burr, you're good. Now, if there's some parts of the edge that don't have a burr and some do, you can keep going until the entire burr is down the entire edge, but you don't need a big burr. And that's another thing. If you're just letting yourself get to too big of burrs, try focusing on small burrs. Try dipping the mouth end of your next cigar in a little tequila. Oh, I've thought about it. I've thought about it. Hi, Jared. Good to see you. Good to see you, Billy. Blind Fury. Yeah, appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, I've thought about that. I've seen some videos on people dipping them, and I've seen a bunch of different videos on people doing different stuff. And I've watched like my uncles and stuff, and my dad do different things. I picked up the Hapstone starts. I won't step there. I was just curious. Thank you. Um, yeah, the Hapstone starts are real. Okay, so you just got the Hapstone starts. You're coming out for the coated blade. So yeah, if you just got them, so that means you have a fixed angle system. So just go slow and keep a towel and just every few passes, just give it a little wipe down. Take your time with it. Once you sharpen one, maybe two good sharpenings, you're fine. Like when I said 6 sharpenings, I was talking about a big 3x8 stone. If you're doing a 1x6 stone, one full sharpening, you're good. It's broken in. So if you sharpen something else and then sharpen the coated blade, if you're worried about it, because yes, they will fly off, but typically from speed, right? Typically, if you're going slow, I've used brand new diamond blades with coated blades, like all different types of coated blades, and been just fine. But every time I've used a new diamond plate and went fast, it's always led to the coating, like especially it's like right above the bevel right here is where it'll be like little sparks, basically, it'll look like. Workshop Pro says it uses it dry. No, yeah. So if it's diamond plates, go dry. Don't use water or anything. Diamond plates. What we were talking about before was diamond stones, bonded diamond stones. So, like, this is diamond plates. This is bonded stones, and I'll plug some from a fixed angled. Okay, so these are diamond, but they're resin diamond, right? They're not just on the surface. This is a bonded diamond stone. It's a bonded diamond. Now this is a diamond plate, and I have these on the Neeve Knife Co. Site down in the description. So this is a metal plate with diamonds over the surface. Let me grab a coarser one. So I recommend that everybody get these, especially for beginners. The bonded stones are great, but they're very expensive, so they're going to be more for, I don't want to say pros, but for people that sharpen a lot because they last a lot longer than diamond plates, but they're also much more expensive. But if you are some Tahomas, don't get all the plates because we sell replacement sheets that you can just stick. So you can buy 2 plates and then buy the other 2 grits because there's 4 grits altogether. It goes 140, 400, 600, 1200. What you can do is you can get, like, say, a 140 and then take the 400, peel that off, and just snap it on the back, and now you'll have a double-sided plate. And because it comes with these heavy-duty sleeves, you can keep it protected. Thank you so much. Oh, I need that.
I'm a mocha cappuccino. Remember you asked me the difference? How foamy that is?
Oh, it's so good.
So the consistency is different?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference between a cappuccino and a latte.
Oh, it's so good. Thank you so much, baby.
Mm-hmm. Sweet enough for you?
Oh, it's perfect. Look at that, guys. Dessert. Mmm. Damn it, that's good. See right here, I have a double-sided 140. So what I did was one side started wearing out, so I took the new 140 and slapped it on this side. So I don't have to ever replace the plate. Once you buy a plate, the Toma plate, you never have to replace them. You just always replace it with the replacement sheet. And when you first buy them, don't buy 4 plates. Buy 2 plates and then just get the replacement sheets for the other grits. All right, so I do have another set that I like to recommend right now. We got some of Alex's Strops too we could test out. So here, let me lower you guys down really quick, and I'll get to the comments here in 1 second. Okay, so I have 3x. So this is a double-sided plate. You can get this whole thing right here in the Sharp Ball link down in the description. But it comes with an angle guide for you, and you have a double-sided plate, right? This is like $70 for the whole thing. But what's cool is a base, so you can push that in like that, and this thing stays locked in. So it's nice and strong. And it's got a rubber bottom so it doesn't slide. And then this is magnetic, and it's got the angles on there for you. So you can easily get something like this and start learning how to sharpen. Now you can also get one of these from the Neeve Knife Co site, which is real easy. And this is a clamp. If you're going to buy like regular diamond plates where you're going to buy more, I would say if you're wanting to get more than one or more than 2 grits, don't get this. Get the Atomas. They're more expensive, but they are better quality. But with this, you can just lock it in like this, and it's real simple. And then if the stones are big, you can pop these off. And this also does come with one of these. Neeve Knife goes like these are like we only have them for like I forget how much, but we have them as cheap as you could possibly get these things. These are from DMT too. Then there's also the 2x6s. If you're really on a budget, go with this one. It's a double-sided plate. It also comes with the angle guide, but it's and the the thing to put it in. 2x6 inch stone, so it's much smaller. It will wear out faster. We are. What I'm going to do? I'm going to take the diamond plate from over here because instead of using that Thomas, I'm going to use this right now. It's a little bit newer, and we're just going to put it right in here. Okay, so we have the 3V knife here. I'm going to get to the comments. So if anybody wrote a comment they want me to rewrite it because I am way on the comments. So I apologize. I just see a Donnie though. Eric, thank you for the 5 bones, man. I'm cutting C28 used consistently, used constantly for medium tough cutting. How many times can I get away with stropping before I have to do a hard sharpening? So there's a better question. So the better question is how do you avoid sharpening? Right? So you avoid sharpening by honing. Honing is far more important than stropping. So when you hone, I have tons of videos. You're going to want either one of your stones or a ceramic rod. These things are great. A little field sharpener, something like this you can use. Or you can use literally your finishing stone, whatever you finished on. Like I like to hone on these. So what you'll do is while your edge is still sharp, right? This is not, it has not gotten dull yet. Don't wait till it gets dull. If it has gotten dull, you can do a quick micro bevel on a ceramic rod. Tons of videos on it. I have tons of shorts, so it's very easy to just go into my sharpening playlist. But if your edge is still relatively sharp, you can literally take it to the stone and do a couple gentle passes. This is very gentle. You're literally applying barely any pressure. And you're just going to go back and forth a few times very gently and then feel it. Make sure it feels really good. And then put it on the strap. That will keep you from sharpening for a long time. Now, the problem is everybody waits entirely way too long before they strop or hone. So if you're stropping and it doesn't work, hone and then strop. If it's so sharp still, but you just want a little tune up, do the strop first. Don't worry about honing. So you can use both kind of interchangeably, but you should be able to strop and hone 7 to 10 times. But it depends on some factors. Your edge angle is the biggest factor. How high was your edge angle, or how low is it? The lower, the better. The lower, the longer to last, the easier it will be to strop and hone. Far easier. A high angle is not as easy to strop because it's just more material, right? You're trying to strop something like this versus something like this, right? Sharpness, it's easier to remove material when it's thinner rather than thicker, right? So, and then also the steel and the heat treatment are the biggest factors, but you should get a bunch of, if you're doing it correctly and you're not waiting a long time, you should be able to get away with 7, maybe 10, hones and strops, maybe even more than that, man. Like there's some knives, man, I'll strop for 30, 40 times just because of the geometry, the edge angle, and the steel. So, and the heat treatment. When all those factors are to play, and you have them all really good, and it's a very well-rounded everything, then you can do it for like a year or two. Wait, that's what I did. 140, 400, 600. Then you get to 1200 and ultra sharp 2200 grit. Don't get the 2200 grit. Don't get the 2200 grit Inspire G because they just wear out, man. It just wears out. It's not worth it. It'll literally work like 5 times. I've wore some of those out like pretty much instantly. What I would recommend is just get one resin bonded stone, and if you don't have the money for a big one, just go with the small. But like there's a lot of the Nanawa resin bonded diamonds. They got some good ones that are more affordable. You could go and get some of the small ones from USA Market. You could get. There's also something like this. These are a little more expensive, but these are vitrified. But yeah, I would say, man, don't get that stone, man, because it's a waste of money. And you could buy one bonded stone and it'll last like 1,000 of those. So it's money well spent. Headstone says you can use premium CBN stone. Yes, you can. So the premium, the reason why, Aaron, is because that's metal. That's what I was saying. When it's a metal, either a metal diamond plate with diamonds or a metal bond, you can use no water because it's metal, right? When it's a resin or a hybrid, which hybrids are just a mixture. It's a little bit of metal with resin. So it's just a mixture of it. But because it has the resin, you need the water. So yeah, that's the reason why. Adventure Fitty, new member. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate the support. We do have members lives every 2 weeks. We're backed up right now on one, so we'll be doing a one this week. We have a giveaway coming up too. All right, so let's put you guys over here. Let's talk about this 3V now. So we have this 3V. So we have this 3V right here. Once I move this stone, and it's already sharp. So what I'm doing is I'm going to cut the edge off so you guys know it's dull. I know you guys love to see that. Now she's dull as shit, right? So we want to put a new edge bevel on. Now this is, and the beauty with 3V, and this is why they did this, because they're M390 blades, which I do have sitting here somewhere. M390 blade is thicker than this one. This one's 3V, so they went with a thinner blade and a much slicier blade. It's another reason why I like the 3V even more, because the thinner and slicier a blade is, the better it cuts. Yes, you lose toughness, but this is 3 fucking V. So since it's 3V, they had a video where they stuck it in the thing and they pried with it. It never broke. It ripped itself out before it broke. Yeah, it was dead, but it didn't snap, and it like the last second. Rick there, what's going on, brother? Shout out to Rick Knives. If you guys want to get some badass pocket trim, talk to Richter Knives. He's got really high quality pocket clips. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm going to take off my Movado because I don't want to scratch the shit out of it on this diamond plate going right across it. So if you're wondering what edge angle, what you can do is I would take the center of your thumb, just match it up right there and do one pass and then look at it, see where your scratches lay. You want scratches either A, hit the entire bevel. So you want to see them literally scratching your entire bevel. Or 2, starting at the very top of the line. But you don't want it to be too far back and a very low angle. You're not going to be able to tell if you're not used to it. So what I would say is if it is hitting the top of the bevel, the very top of your edge bevel, raise it up from the angle you were just at. And like I said, use your thumb as the measuring device. So if you started in the middle, right, and say if it hit the back of the bevel, just raise it up a little bit more than the middle and do another pass. And then look at it again and see if it's still at the top or if it's at the bevel completely. Because then that'll tell you whether or not you're at too low of an angle. Because too low of an angle will take you an incredible long time. If you want to sharpen and go very fast, go with a high edge angle. And what that means is, let me grab the stone to show you this. Instead of doing a low angle like this, so that would be a low angle, do a high angle like that. So that will go much faster because you're removing much less material. So if if you want your sharpening to go faster, if you're learning to sharpen, don't go with a low angle. Go with a relatively high angle to learn. Matt, my sharpening is so good, thanks to you. My only problem area is the tip of the drop point. I always end up scratching the finish under the bevel, and I can't seem to see what I'm doing wrong. I will show you today. This is not a drop point, but I do have a drop point of this knife somewhere right here. I thought it was literally right here, but I don't know what the hell it went. I have plenty of drop points I can grab, but this will work just fine because this still has a little bit of belly. This isn't perfectly flat. See, so this is very similar to a drop point as far as sharpening goes. When you're going across the stone, when you're lifting your elbow to get to the tip, right? Don't go up high, right? So what you're doing is you're going like this, and then you're going up that much higher, right? Just that little bit. And if we're talking about freehand, if we're talking about fixed angle, let me know, Matt. Let me make sure if you didn't say. If you're talking about fixed angle, let me know. But for freehand, as you're going across the step, just lift it up until you can feel this part hitting the stone. You got it. Like that's it. You don't have to go up higher than that. It's not like something where you have to get up so high unless if it has a very big belly. Let me grab another knife to show you guys. I can't show you. Oh, there it is. So this is the M390 version. Now this is a drop point, right? Or a spear point, but it's a drop point. So as I'm going across the stone, because I need to get the tip, right? So what do I do to get to the tip? I lift my elbow, right? I don't move my wrist. I lock my wrist. So I find my angle, whatever angle that's going to be. Let's say it's the middle of the thumb right here. That's what I'm going to use. That's typically a good edge angle for like 90% of knives. When I'm going across, in order to get this, so I'm focusing right here first at the beginning of the heel. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit. So use the middle of my thumb, and I'm focused at the beginning of the heel right here, right? My pressure's there on this little part, only like a 1-inch section at a time. And as it goes across the stone, now the heel came off, so now my attention's here. Going, now it's here. Now I need to get to this part, so I have to lift my elbow. Lift, done. I don't need to go up any higher because the tip is hitting. If you don't know if it's hitting, you can put your finger there, and as it's going up, you'll feel it touch, and then that's it. Don't go up any higher. The second it touches, it's done. I did this part too, where it would touch, and I'd be like, "Is it hitting it?" Right? Like I feel like it's almost hitting it, but maybe not quite. So I'd lift up a little bit higher, like that. That's too high right there. What I just did. Watch my arm. So as I'm going across, that's too high right there. Way too high. This is how it should look. Like just not that much lift. Now, the bigger the belly, obviously, the more you might have to. But when you also, with the, yeah, look at that. We already got a perfect scratch pattern on there. When you are doing the tip too, sometimes the tip is going to be different geometry than the rest of the edge. There might be some times where you might have to work on the tip longer than the rest of the edge. So if the bevel's not completely and the rest of the edge is, that's okay. Just continue sharpening until, or just get it on the next sharpening. They have some RS or R2 as far best professional. I dog-eared a tip. I lifted too high for you. Yep. You live and you learn. That's so true. Okay, so middle of my thumb, holding it. Now, this one doesn't have as big of a belly as the last one, so we don't lift up our elbow very high. Pull you guys back a little bit. See my elbow a little bit better. Maybe not. Okay, so middle of my thumb, Focusing at the heel as I'm going across, I'm just barely lifting my elbow. See that? So now, in order for me to get back to the beginning again, I just lift up my back and my shoulders, lean back, and now I'm just going to drop my elbow back down. Now I'm back to the same angle. So I can just repeat that over and over. It's very simple. Now, if you're in and you're good at going like this, like where I'm just basically just moving my hips in and out, right? Moving my hips in and out, and my elbows just going up, down, up, down. So now I can stay locked in. You can do that. Sometimes I've found that it's easier to do single passes, and sometimes it's easier to do back and forth. It depends on you, the blade. There's a lot of little variables that make it easier or harder for certain things. Will you be at Blade Show Atlanta? Yes, I am. Damn right I'm going to be. You drag your thumb. No. So yes and no. You don't want to drag it aggressively. What you want to do is you want to find your angle. And then if you're going to hold it with by touching the stone, just float it. It's literally like this, it's just barely touching. So it doesn't do any damage. You're not putting any pressure, it's rubbing your skin. If you do that for long enough, yeah, I'm sure it will. But what you can also do is just find the angle, right? But then lock, right? So remember, the point of you doing this is to lock this son of a bitch right here. So you find that, then lock that. Now it doesn't matter if I move this because now I'm still locked in. So what I'll do is I'll put my fingers at the top now and I'll just give it a little guidance, which my fingertips will rub the stone slightly just to hold and help maintain that angle because everything's an indicator, right? This arm is an indicator. These fingers are an indicator. My thumb might be. So my thumb right there is an indicator. But now I'll switch to these. Now these are my indicators. So if I start moving like this, I will feel it and I'll know to stop. So if I'm going across right there, I just lifted my wrist a little bit. I felt that. So I'm going to just restart. So I'm just making sure I'm focusing on my fingertips, making the exact same movement, same amount of pressure. I don't, when I go back to the beginning, I don't want to now put more pressure because now I'm obviously changing angle. I want it to be the exact same. So if I'm at the very top of the knife right here, just barely touching it, and my fingers are barely floating, they won't get damaged at all. And now I can just keep repeating that because my wrist is locked, right? I started off right here, locked my wrist. Now I go back to these fingers, and now I just hold it and I lock in. Because as long as you don't move your damn wrist, you won't change angle. The angle for the blade shape is your elbow. Okay, to get the blade shape, elbow. To get the edge bevel, it's wrist. So as long as this is locked, this part, your forearm and your wrist, you can move your elbow all you want. It's not going to change this angle, right? Look, see, it doesn't change this. So that's the point. So lock that part in. And then you want to spend as much time as it takes. Time, I thought about doing a video specifically on time, like how long does it take to sharpen, stuff like that. But the answer is until, right? There is set time. It's because there's different thicknesses, right? It's like saying how long does it take to get to Florida? You'd be like, well, how are we going? Right? Are we taking a train, taking a plane, taking a car? Are we like walking? Right? Same thing with sharpening. How thick is it? Right? How thick is it? It changes everything. What steel is it? Changes everything. What's your abrasive? Changes everything. So heat treatment changes everything. And I know there's a myth about harder steels being more difficult to sharpen. That's absolutely not true. They're easier to sharpen. Steel, the more premium steels, while they have higher wear resistance, so you might have to do more passes on the stone. They're easier because when their burr comes up, the burr it's easier to come up. First of all, it takes a sharper edge. The burr to come off, which is one of the most important sharpening, is so much then basically like everything about the sharpening, the way it feels, how easy it is to hold the angle, all of that is much better on a premium steel. The reason why is I like to use this analogy. Imagine sharpening a crayon or a stick? Which one do you think is easier to sharpen? A crayon is going to sharpen much faster, right? But a stick's easier, right? Because a crayon, it's not even going to get fucking sharp. It's going to suck the sharp. It's going to be more mushy than anything. But a stick is harder. So it's easier to get a bevel on. That's basically the same concept. That bevel looks beautiful. So, but I do notice right at the tip, I'm not hitting the back of the bevel. So I need to fix that. So we're going to fix that right now. In a previous video, I can't move. In a previous video, you mentioned to use like 1 to 2 pounds. Could be wrong. Is that true for all types of steels? And if it's a fixed gear forward, so I say you can use as much pressure as you can handle as long as you can hold the angle. So that's the point. The harder you push, the faster it's going to sharpen. But also, the more likely you are to drop angle, right? Because the more pressure I'm pushing, the more likely I am to do this, right? Because I'm pushing down. So the biggest part is maintaining angle. If you can hold the angle and not be fatigued over a long period of time, you can put 100 pounds on there. It'll sharpen up really quick. But if you end up being there for an hour and you get fatigued and now your hands hurt and your arm hurts and you can't hold the angle, then it doesn't matter. So I say about 4 pounds of pressure for sharpening. 2 to 4 pounds of pressure I think is good typically, but there's times where I use about 10. So about 10 pounds, in my opinion, is so when you use your arm like to lift up, that's about 30 pounds. Okay. I know everybody's different in weight, but I'm telling you, it's about 30 pounds, right? If you take a scale, everybody's going to be about that. Your legs, your back, and everything, and you're using your arm to take off about 30 pounds. So 10 pounds is not much. Like I can push 10 pounds on this pretty easily. Um, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good for everybody. It's going to depend on your ability to hold the angle. So because I wasn't able to hit the back of the bevel here, 2 to 4 pounds is typically pretty good. And a lot of people say just let the diamonds do the work. Just let the diamonds do the work. Don't get fatigued. Be patient. Don't have a time limit in your head. Don't think something. If you feel like it's taking too long, stop. Just stop. Stop thinking like that because there is no time limit. It's just until, right? Um, it's like doing anything, right? Like how long does it take to build a house? It depends on all the workers and everything. Depends on a lot of shit, but until it's done. So in order to get the back of the bevel, I'm literally hitting the entire edge all the way to here, and then from here to here, it's only hitting the apex. So I have none of the back of the bevel hit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lock in back at the heel. Same thing I've been doing. As I go across the stone, once I get to here now, I'm going to change something. Before, what was I doing? I was just lifting my elbow, right? Lifting my elbow. But now I'm going to do a little tiny dip with my wrist. And that's it. I probably exaggerated it just now because I'm just trying to get the back of the bevel. A small movement is a big movement in sharpening. So when I'm lifting my elbow to my elbow, once I get to here now, I'm just going to barely dip my wrist. It's such a subtle movement, you're not going to be able to notice it. That's what I'm trying to show you guys that when you want to change something in your edge angle, whether it's your edge angle or the spot your hip or whatever, very, very minimal differences. So like if I need to get a specific spot right there, let's say I want to focus there, I'm not going to go like this and start chiseling into there. I'm just going to barely put a little bit of pressure on this part and do that, right? But I'm not going to allow it to go like this, right? I'm going to keep it level, and I'm just going to add a tiny bit more pressure here than on the rest of the bevel. And I'll work on that area. Well, when I get to the tip, kind of the same thing. So I need to get to the back of the bevel. So I'm going to dip my wrist a little bit right there's dip, and I'm going to let it grow. Feels like it should be hit right now, but we're going to check it. Almost. We're still missing it. So a little bit more. Now I'm doing a trick really quick where I'm going straight across. So I'm basically just going straight across just like this, and I'm just letting it go straight across. And once I get to this part right here, I'm doing that basically going like this. As I get to there, I go like that. That's exaggerating what I'm doing. So you can't tell it, but that's what I'm doing with my wrist. And maybe you can tell, but so close. You might be able to see how close it is. See that? I don't know if you can see that or not. Level angle. I need to belt my Mannix Spy 27, making mini Mannix. That'd be pretty cool. All right, we got a big burr on the side, so I'm gonna skip this little tiny bit of step. Like I said before, there's times when it is against everything to keep moving, right? I've removed enough steel from this side. I've removed the edge, right? What do I have? 1.5% of the tip I need to get. Fucking deal. It's not going to do anything, right? But right now, I have a big burr on this side, so I'm going to get rid of this burr and I'm going to sharpen this side, and maybe we'll finish it when we get back to the other side. But I'm not going to sit here and remove years of steel to get this little tiny, tiny speck. It's just, it's not very not smart, right? It's not smart. And if you ever send your knife into sharpening and a guy tells you, like, listen, I sharpened your knife, there's one little spot at the heel or one little spot at the tip, it was not coming out right away. I didn't want to remove a bunch of steel, so I left it. That's a good sharpener. Keep going to him, because a good sharpener would keep going and wind up removing like 10 years of steel off of your knife just to get that little back. All right, so now we're doing the exact same thing. I'm going to use this finger for now, the back side. So that's my measurement, right? I know about the same as my middle of my thumb as I do inside of the finger. But if you need to figure it out, you can, make a little line right there and mark it over there. You can figure that out, or stack some quarters. You can get an angle guide like this, and then just, use the angle guide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure right there. That's about my angle. Now I'm locked off my wrist. So now I'm focusing at the heel, just like when I was pushing, but now I'm just pulling and getting over to the tip. And I'm not going to do the same thing with dipping my wrist yet, because I don't know if this side's going to need that. So I don't want to do that. I want to check it first and make sure. Both sides are completely different. Sometimes your angle, and I've had people say this to me, learning freehand, they'd be like, man, it feels like I'm holding such a low angle on this side and then such a high angle on this side. You probably are. It's just that the bevel is, or sorry, the grind is different. This side's thicker than this side, or vice versa. So in order to get the bevel, you have to hold a lower angle on one side. That happens all the time. Might need a sharpening or honing if they don't shave. I got almost every steel but Van X, LMAX, M390-20CV, and S90V. Need some. Yeah, especially with the budget knives. I think it took me forever to lay back the bevel on the Bossy Raccoon because the flat under the belly ever so slightly recessed. How do you solve for that on a fixed angle system? Okay, so good question, man. Good fucking question. I'm guessing you're talking about the tip thing right now, or are you talking about the different angles? You're probably talking about the different angles. So let's start with that. Because that's two really good questions. With a fixed angle system, when one side is higher angle, take the smaller side, whatever side that is, the smaller side, the smaller bevel side, obviously the lower angle side is going to be the bigger bevel, the higher angle side is going to be the smaller bevel. Take the smaller bevel and work on that side. That's how you fix that. Don't try to change your angles, because it's a nightmare. So don't even try to do that. Just work longer on the small side. What'll happen is you're going to remove the steel from the big side. If this is the big bevel and there's a little bevel here, if you work on this side long enough, it'll eventually even up. And then if it's the tip thing, you basically you kind of do the same thing. It's hard for me to do without bringing out the fixed angle system, but picture this is the stone, for a fixed angle system. You're sharpening the stone or a knife. Let's pretend this is the knife, right? This is the knife you're sharpening, right? This is the stone, 1x6 inch stone. When you're going like this, you're gonna apply the pressure on this corner here. And as it goes across, you're going to allow it to hit a little bit farther, but not past the center of the stone. You're not just holding it flat like this. You're basically getting like this, and then you're kind of lifting it up, just like that, getting it to the tip. And you got to be careful though. So what I recommend is people to put their finger underneath the tip when they're doing that, so that when the stone does go over the top, it doesn't roll over. Yeah, this side's great. I don't need to do anything extra on this side. I actually got a burr from heel to tip. Let me just clean this up really quick. See how fast this side went compared to the other side? The tip's already done. Everything looks great. I just need to clean it up a little bit. All right. Clean it up a little bit more. A little bit of a higher angle on that one. This is a 325 diamond plate. We're going to move up to 1200. Now, I typically recommend having an in-between stone. This is just this is. Typically, I would say don't jump from 325 to 1200 unless you don't care about wearing out 1200. If that's all you got, use what you got. But by having a 600 grit right now, I would be able to save the life of my 1200 grit a lot more. Chris Jones, been a member for 28 months. Yo, how's everyone doing this evening? Well, oh, hey, what's up, bud? Hey, what's up? You forgot I was here, didn't you? Your my audio's cutting out. How, what the fuck? Oh, dang it. Hopefully this doesn't mess me up. I started recording just now. I was doing that. Can you guys hear me good? Let me know. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. What's the recommended grit on a finishing stone? Depends on the steel. Depends on the steel. I say most knives do great with 600 grit to 1200 grit, but some knives do great up to whatever grit you want. 10,000 grit doesn't matter. But certain steels don't do well over 1500 grit. Some steels will get slick, like very glassy. That's what it's called. So I want to use those steels up to a super fine grit. But it just depends. And then the lower the edge angle, the better it will work too. So meaning the lower the edge angle, the finer the edge can take. Like you have a very high edge angle and you try to sharpen to a very, 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 very fine edge, it's probably going to be it's not going to have any bite. Still cutting. Okay, let me try something. Give me 1 second. How about now? That should be better. Almost at 12 months. Are you a Rockstead? I can't see the things right now. It's good now? Cool. Okay. Sorry, guys. Hopefully that is good now. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate the support. That means you got something coming. I'm just gonna set the mic down. Tell me if it starts going out again. I'm moving it away from my mouth, so my neck's rubbing it, but I will put it back on my collar if I have. I'm just tuning this side up, making sure my bevel's set nicely. I've already got a burr, but I want to, yeah, there we go. I just want my bevel to be nice and clean, nice. I don't want to see any facets. Facets are just the you seeing angle change. They're scratch. So basically, there'll be lines going this direction, right? So you want all your scratches to go this direction, right? Up and straight up and down. When you see lines, sometimes they'll look like shadows too, running side to side. That's the difference in your angles. You're changing angles. So those are facets. I try to get rid of all those. Now, if it's very minimal, don't worry about it. Like, don't beat yourself up over it. But if there's a lot of them, or if they're really deep, then you might want to. Audio bad again? Okay. All right. I'll just keep it on. It's okay. I can also put it on this thing over here. I'll just leave it. I was gonna magnet it on, but I didn't grab my magnets. You know what? I think I have a magnet right here. Let me see something. Yeah, there we go. We'll just do that. That should work for now. Let me know if it sounds crazy in a second. But now we're to the 1200 grit. Like I said, I typically like to go to a finer grit before I. This is probably a 600 right here, but it's not stuck on the back of the thing. Let me knock this burr off. So right now, I'm knocking the burr off because I just sharpened this side, right? Well, I had a big burr, right? Because you guys seen I spent a little more time than I want. So because the burr's so big, I don't want to just go into it. One, it's going to rip diamonds off my plate. But two, it also could potentially rip steel off of the apex. So while I'm going to be going through more stones, so it's not that big of a deal. Once you get over 1200 grit, a lot of the stones aren't really removing steel. They're more refining the edge. So this is going to be the last stone that will remove any steel, and it's very little anyways. So I don't want to drag the burr across and just get it tore off because it's 1200 grit. If there was micro tear out or anything, it's not going to be able to help it. Now, if it was a 600 grit, yeah, I could. I'll tell you what, the burr looks really good on this. I can, if I can get you guys to see this right now. Let me see if I can. Nope, wrong one. Let's see if you guys can see this. Let me get the light just perfect on it. Look at this burr. Watch this. See that? That's the burr. Now, all burrs won't look like this. This is this specific burr because this is 3. It takes a kind of a weird burr like this, but it's like almost like a flaky burr. See how it's snapping off now, but that's what you want to see. See how it's popping off? That's what you want to see. That means it's nice and hardened. This means this is probably good heat treated steel. Because if it would have been just because I wasn't really folding it back and forth, I was more just pushing it up and down. But once I started really pushing it back and forth, if it would just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like trying to bend a paper clip until it breaks and doesn't break off, then it's a softer steel or it's got a compromised heat treatment. So that's a good sign. We like to see that. We're going to take this section or this side just a little bit longer, and then we will jump to the other side. And we're going to move this in polishing stuff. I want to take this bitch all the way home. You know what? I don't even know why. I'm not even going to use this anymore. I'm going right to bonded. Screw that thing. I don't even know why I use that because this is. This would be like 3,000, 5,000, 1,200. So this is like it's like a 600. I'm just gonna hit it really quick on this and then go right to the other side. Since this is a little bit of a finer type of diamond. Sharpening 3V as we speak. It was great mini car. Yeah, that's awesome. And I just sharpened up the other day. Um, the other one is 3V from Kaiser. I can't see the name now. The critical. It's from my cousin. I want to put one more edge on it though. Now I use soapy water on this because this is a bonded diamond stone. Grabbing some paper towels and I'm just setting it on my lap. So when I'm done like this, I can wipe it really quick. Yeah, it's good to have a rag over your lap or something, to wipe because you're going to do it often so that you can see your scratches really good. And our bevel looks good, but I wanted this bevel to be nice because here's the thing: if you were only going to 1200 grit, your bevel doesn't have to be, unless if you're a nitpicky bastard like me, but your bevel doesn't have to be perfect. What do I mean? Lower grits cover up perfection. A 600 grit edge is great, not only because the scratches can cover up imperfections, but also it's a nice toothy edge and every steel does good with it. Once you get to 1200 grit, yeah, it doesn't cover up as much, but it still covers up a lot. Now, edge bevel is not perfect at 1200 grit before you go to, say, a 3000 grit. The 3000 grit's not going to look great. You're going to have facets. It's going to be cloudy in certain areas because you didn't do your justice on the lower grit stone. That's why I always say spend a little bit more time on the lower grit stones if you have to make sure your edge is perfect so that by the time you get to the finishing stones, they work fast. They should work really quickly. Is there an oil that can be I wouldn't buy oil for these. I would just buy soapy water. Dish soap and water is cheaper, more affordable. You can mix it yourself. Why would I buy? Like I've been using soapy water on resin bonded diamond stones for however long, for years, and it's always been great. So I wouldn't now switch to a honing oil and spend money on something, for nothing. Plus, oil stinks. Now, if they make a sweet smelling kind that smells like Game Time or some Versace Dylan Blue, then maybe we'll be talking. I know a few of you guys understood with that. All right. Oh, that looks beautiful. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Beautiful, beautiful edge. I do have a little tiny bit to heal I want to get, but let's flip that burr back over. See, I flipped it over, got it out of the way because it was a little bit larger burr. Yeah, it stinks like shit. What does that say? Usually, when I can do waves and circles on copy paper, I end the sharpening. What do you use to test out sharpen results? I use paper towel. Paper towel is the most difficult to sharpen, or sharpen, the most difficult to cut because your edge has to be perfect. So with paper, that's a good indicator to see if you have an apex. If you have a good apex. Why is this like anyways? Um, looks like my screen is smaller. I don't know. Anyways, with paper, it's good to check for the apex. Now you can check for sharpness too. It's about the sound, how smooth it goes through, and yada yada. But even a knife, like I just did this yesterday on a video. I had a knife with a burr down the entire thing. It was still cutting paper. But swirls, yes, doing swirls is definitely an indicator that it's sharp. Swirls through paper towel is an indicator that it's a hair whittling. So the difference is the fibers in the paper towel make it so that you have to have the edge not only very sharp, but also it has to have the perfect amount of bite. If it doesn't, if your scratch pattern isn't good, like an edge that's slicker than snot can cut paper very clean, it can cut waves and everything. But it can't cut paper towel. You need the bite, so which is the microscopic serrations, which are so important to the edge. That's what the abrasive is leaving on here, right? The very apex, if you look at under a microscope, it looks like a serrated edge. That's what you want. So you want that teeth. That's what keeps it cut. That's what initiates a cut. That's what stops you from slipping. The reason why people say a dull knife is a dangerous knife is that exact reason, because if it doesn't have bite, it slips. But anyways, it has to have the high level of sharpness in order to split that paper towel, and then it has to have the bite in order, and then also it can't have too much bite. If it has too much bite, it'll snag the fibers and tear it. So it has to have the perfect amount of bite, basically like perfect micro serrations. They have to be uniform. They have to be, decent. You can get away with cutting like a couple inches of paper, but you doing a cut all the way down a paper towel, you typically are gonna. It's gonna need to be damn near perfect cut, especially if you're gonna get past like 2 inches. Oh, it's looking beautiful. Bevel's a little bit bigger on one side. Let's lower it down really quick, just a little bit, since we're on this stone. This stone we can still remove the steel from. So we're going to clean anything up right now on this stone before we move to the next one. But we are damn near done with this stone. That was good. All right, so now we're going to move over to this one, which is basically like a 1200. This is a Neeve resin bonded diamond stone. I got a stone for that reason. Yeah, 1200 grit is a good it's a good finishing stone. Most steels do good up to 1200 grit. Most. So 1200 grit's a good stone to have, and it's a good transition to a 3K, because if you're gonna go to a mirror polish, you have to go over 2000, right? So 1200 grit to 2000 grit is a cloudy finish. 1200 grit is a super fine edge. It's not cloudy, it's fine, ultra fine. Over 1500 to 2000 grit is a cloudy finish. Once you get to 2000, between 2000 and 3000, that's mirror polish. When you hit 3000 and up, now you're mirror polished, and anything above that's mirror polish. But if you go to a 3000 off of, say, a 600, it's not going to work. Not unless if you have the finest 600 grit stone ever. It's just going to basically make polishes between your serrations. Now that's cool. You can do that, and sometimes that's a cool edge. Like I used to do that all the time. Do different types of edges like that. Depending on the steel, sometimes that's a great idea. But if you want a really good, high quality mirror polished edge, you got to make sure you do the work on the medium grit and don't jump too far. You want to go like 300, 600, 1200, and 3000, right? You can jump when you get to the finer ones, but you don't want to jump too much on the lower ones. Now you can, but if you do, you're going to spend a lot longer on, like, say, the 1200. All right, so we have a burr. Knock that sucker off. Like I said before, when we have the burr, we're just basically folding it over to this side, getting it out of the way. And then, sometimes you might have to push it a couple times to really get it completely out of the way. Remember, we're locking our wrist, using our elbow to get the blade shape. We don't want to move, because the more movement we have, the more we will fuck up our polish edge. So we want to keep that sucker locked. Whatever angle you pick, it goes this high, doesn't matter. Whatever angle you pick it and lock in. If you're worried about what angle to choose, just go with the happy medium. Don't go up too high, don't go up too low, right in the middle. But then once you do have your angle, lock your wrist, and just only use your elbow. Don't use your wrist or your hand. You want to lock your forearm in. It's okay to lift your forearm with your elbow, but it's not okay to use your forearm like that. So lock it. That will ensure that your bevel is nice and flat. Now, at first, when you first start doing this, you're probably going to get fatigued. Your forearm will probably feel like it's getting a little bit of a work, but that's okay. You get really quick, and you can always stop and restart. Don't forget, you can always stop and restart. Right now we have a little bit at the heel that's not getting hit. Let's see how that looks. Hopefully it didn't give a bunch of facets. It did. I knew it was gonna, because I changed methods, right? I was doing single passes, and then I went back and forth. When you do that, that's fine, but you're typically gonna have to pick one or the other, because if I do single pass and I start doing back and forth, I'm probably going to get faster. It's going to be slightly different. Like I said, it's the tiniest difference that is all the difference. So I'm going to just stick with the single passes, because that's what I originally had. Now, if I go with the back and forth, I can do that. I have to do it for a little bit longer so that my bevel winds up matching. Remember, the goal, every stone, we're replacing the bevel, basically. Every time we switch to another stone, we're basically just replacing the bevel again, just with smaller serrations, right? The coarser one, right? Big serration, like a big heavy saw blade, right? The next one was a finer saw blade, and then a finer saw blade, and a finer saw blade, until we get to a very, very fine saw blade, which would be the mirror polish. Okay, we're going to stay focused on this one. So I won't spend too much time on this. We're almost done with the side. I just see a couple little spots. I'm not worried about that tip. Like I said, that tip I can get out on the next sharp. has a little infection in it, but not big enough to matter for me to care about. It'd be irresponsible for me to care about it, to be honest. Right. Whittling hair. I tried once. First, I got to lure. First, I had to lure the hair off Sarah's head. Then it escaped. I chased it down, so I'm cussing and fussing, looking in the mirror. That's funny. I'm always waiting for the question when somebody's like, "You whittle hair." Well, how do you catch the girl? You know, how do you catch the girl to get her damn hair? Guys' hairs are typically not that long. How are you catching these bitches? Very Use your body movement side to side helps me lock. Yes, that is true. If you're just basically moving your hips and then elbow, hips and elbow, hips and elbow, just stay locked in. Even if I'm lifting up, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm literally using my hips and I'm just leaning in and leaning back, leaning in, leaning back. Now I have less likely of anything moving because I'm just using my elbow to get to the tip or the blade shape, and all that's doing is just going up and down, up and down. And it's very subtle. So, all right, we're pretty much done with this side. It looks good. I could get it a little bit better though. Maybe we might come back to that side. Let me just get this side really quick though, so I don't get too fatigued on that side. If you start working on one side too long, just switch to the other side, especially if you have more work to do, because you don't want to get fatigued. It's better to come back to it. 'Cause once you get fatigued or burnt up on one side, then you're really not going to do well. You'll wind up doing way better by just switching sides or even stopping for 5 minutes and coming back to it. If you ever get to a point where your hand is getting sore, your shoulders are sore, you're getting frustrated, fatigued, anything like that, set that knife down, relax, watch something, listen to something, woosah, and then come back to it. And I promise you, it will go 1,000 times easier than if you stuck in it. I stubbornly have done this 1,000 times where I'm like, it's only a little bit. I don't want to stop, right? I don't want to take a fucking break. I want to finish. So I'll fucking keep going, and then I'll wind up spending an hour and then wind up having to take a break anyway. So like just take the break. These are all little things you learn as time goes on that never changes no matter how good you get. The big difference between, years ago when I was sharpening wasn't whether or not I made mistakes or anything. It was how I dealt with them. How I dealt with them, but then also my patience on dealing with them. Right? Like I would sit there and work vigorously to get something out rather than saying, okay, I see an imperfection. That's okay. Let me set the knife down for a second, let my arm take a break, and I'll come back to it. Or something like that. Just being a little more patient with it, like not trying to hold the standard of which you have to beat like some race or something. I'm really happy with that. Let me switch sides of the stone. I might have to condition this thing. Not I'm gonna lower my angle really quick. My bevel. I'm gonna try it one more time. If it's not working on this side, I'm gonna quickly condition it or grab a different 3000. That's what this is. This is a 3000. Or wait, no, this is a 1200. I'm sorry, this isn't a 3000. This is a 1200. The 3000 will be the start of the mirror polish. This is an ultra fine edge. Okay, that's definitely looking better. Not great, but looking a lot better. I was just getting facets because like we were talking about earlier, the angle is so much different from one side to the other. This one's a lot lower, so I have to remember that and really lock in on that lower angle. I wound up using the same angle on the opposite side as this side, just out of habit. but we're almost done with this side. We're going to jump right to the mirror polishing stone right here in 1 second. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We have a big burr too. Look at this side. Yeah, that side's a little bit bigger. You know what, guys? I'm sorry. I have to do it. I have to do it. I'm sorry. Like a dick. I gotta lower this bevel on this side. It's just way too big. Since this is a 600, this should go pretty quick because it's not much. It's only a couple degrees, but I can see it's smaller than the opposite side. So that's already looking a lot better. A little bit farther. It feels so much different. Like it's really not, but the feeling you have is much greater. Like trying to, dropping your angle lower on the other side. You're like, can it really be that big difference? It's like, yes, it can. Yes, it can. Antonio, you can buy plastic angle guides on Amazon. Yeah, you can buy these for a few bucks. If you go to my Neve's knives down in the description, it's the Neve knife co. I'm sorry. Go to the Neve knife co link. You can get this whole setup right here for very affordable, and it'll come with an angle guide. If you only want the angle guide, you can get them off of my Amazon link. And Sharpall, I think, even sells them separately. That's down in the description. There's a bunch of different kinds. Just know that the angles aren't correct. You're just using it as a starting point. A bit of a perfectionist. I know that. Yeah, yeah. I am when it comes to the edges because I have a reputation to uphold. And like if I see somebody out on the streets or something like that, and then they want to see my knife, they wind up looking at it. The first thing people do, they're like, "Oh, geez, I want to see how sharp this fucking knife is." So when that happens, I need to be prepared. Got to be prepared. All right, we are damn near done with this side. I just had a little tiny drop at the tip. It's very subtle, so I'm going to go right from this side right to the other side. And I'm going to continue on this side of the knife because I'm trying to get the bevel bigger anyways, so that's okay. I'm just going to continue on this side. It does feel a lot better too already. Much better. Much, much, much better. Okay, so all right, we're just going to go right to the 3000 now. Set this side. All right, so this is the 3000 grit. We're still at resin bonded diamonds, the Neves. I'm going to knock that burr back. I quickly knocked over. Does the screen size? That's what I was asking. It feels like it is, right? I don't know if there's something I can do setting wise. I tried going in here. Let me try. I'm just going to jump out and back in. No, that didn't work. No, that didn't work. Exit full screen. No. I can invite anybody on here if somebody wants to come on here with me, though, and then we can do a side by side screen. I don't know. Well, actually, it'll be top and bottom. I don't know why it's like that right now. Maybe it's a setting I have on my camera right now because I'm not using my phone. I'm using the Pocket 3 I got, which is what some of what I'm going to be filming with at Blade Show. So we used at the Worksharp facility. I'll also be using my other stuff. I was using cameras for a while, which the Pocket 3 is a camera, but for the last while, I've been using my phone. Just phone cameras are so good. They're so easy to carry around. You can just get a microphone. At Blade Show, I'm going to use my Pocket 3 and then my phone. It feels better working with a camera and stuff because it feels more professional and people get it way more professional, but you can grab a nice cool setup that makes a phone setup look very professional, and because you are definitely treated differently than if you're just walking around with your phone versus having, a nice little setup, microphone, stuff like that. Wow. Yeah, there we go. That's a mirror polish right there already. Wow. I love 3V, man. I can tell I did do a little convex thing, and I bet you that was from when I was going back and forth. Could be the noise cancellation feature on your mic. Up to the right settings. Well, I turned on the noise cancellation is what I did. I can turn it off if it's quarter screen. This is a quarter. No, so it's supposed to be just a regular vertical screen, like a short feed, right? I can't tell where we're at. I'm guessing it's I don't know. I don't know if I'm only on my YouTube channel or if I'm on Shorts. I was supposed to go into the short stream, but I'm guessing I'm not in the short stream because otherwise there'd be like 1,000 people in here. So that's probably why. Next time I'll just do it on my phone. Um, and if it's that big of a deal, I can restart it really quick and we can go sideways. 'Cause I did it vertically just because for that reason, but if it didn't put me into the short feed, then I'll fucking do a sideways feed right now. I just can't change it while we're live, I don't think. Let me just try it. Let me see. Maybe I can. Nope. Nope, won't let me unless if I stop. Watch Watching you work is very entertaining. I can see and hear you just fine. I don't know where the problem is. Thank you. I appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. The video is just a smaller screen than it was supposed to be. I can see that because there's like I just cut off, but not chair, man. I gotta get another new chair. I burn out chairs, man. Burn them out when you're constantly leaning and shit, doing the shit. Oh my goodness. That one Hawaiian guy, he did that video on those chairs. I wanted to get one of those. They're like $500 and it's just like a workshop chair, but it's like a heavy one. It's built for exactly this type of stuff. He does a lot of knife sharpening stuff and like working on stuff and like making knives and shit. He was on I believe he was on Fortune Fire. He was on a bunch of shit. Really cool guy. Can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he makes a lot of like kitchen knives and fixed blades. Ooh, that's a beautiful edge. Oh, it was gorgeous. Damn, son. The tip, yeah, I know there's a little tiny drop at the tip. I'm not worried about that tip. You have a good night. All right, later, Spider. Appreciate you jumping in, man. Hanging out with us. Where's the leather apron? That's what I'm missing. That's why this whole thing is up. I don't got my apron on. I messed up. You guys, probably half of you would have hit the like button if I just had my damn apron on. All right, we're probably gonna stop at 5,000 grit right after this, and then strop it and see how sharp we got it. I know at this point because of this steel and everything, the way it feels on the stone, this is doing swirls. This is definitely gonna do swirls through paper towels. Hopefully, I'm low enough. Yes, I'm almost low enough. A little bit lower. It just feels like it's such a dramatic difference from one side to the other. Even though it's really not, it just feels like it is. Because like I said before, the tiniest difference is huge. So sometimes when something is bigger than tiny or different, then it feels like really off when you're used to making micro adjustments. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, that looks beautiful. Shit, I almost. Oh shit, I went right to 5. I just messed up. I skipped my 3K and went right to 5K. We're done. I'm an idiot. No wonder why it took a little bit longer. Normally, I would have spent like half the time. I was wondering why it was taking so long. Okay, we're just removing the burr now. So, last side we finished was this side. The burr was on this side, but I'd already, just so you know, I did a couple gentle passes. I did some reverse passes like this, like a strop. Then I did some very gentle forward passes, no pressure, right? It's already fucking sharp. Whole cow is sharp. Yeah, this is why I love 3V, man. This is exactly why I like 3V. I haven't even stropped it yet. And this thing is very, very, very sharp. I'm gonna strop here in 1 second, but first I just want to see what it's like right off the stone, right? Nothing else, just right off the stone. Look at that. Right off the stone. Almost went to the other side. Let's hit it on the Strizap. Let's grab. This is half a micron stroppy stuff. I should have grabbed my bigger strop. This one's got a lot of stuff on it, though. Let me wipe this one down really quick and replace it. Best stropping compound on the planet. You can find it at Neeve Knife Co. down in the description. I'm just going to wipe this off really quick. This is just rubbing alcohol. Just soak it up really quick and then giving it a quick wipe, trying to get this steel off. The one. Use this one. This alcohol, I wish it was 70%. It's 90%, so it's like it just evaporates like immediately. So you got to get it quick. That's why I like this stroppy stuff. I don't have to scrape it. I don't have to put petroleum jelly on there or anything like that. It's already done. It's already dry. Now I take this and I spray it. Almost out of this half anyway. I can feel some in there. Just gotta pump it up. There we go. All right, let that sit for a second. This is 0.5 micron. I put a little bit too much on there. Let me spread this over to this. Holy cow, I put too much. That's all right. We got enough strops to fill. Normally I wouldn't have to wipe it, but there's so much extra on here. I'm just trying to pass it over to my 1x6. And then, yes. This will dry pretty quick. Did you find a difference between the rough and smooth side of lefter? Yeah. So the rough side, I prefer the smooth side for emulsion. What I just used right here, I prefer the smooth side. You can use it on this side, but what happens is that it soaks in really fast. Like if you see how it's sat on the surface here, I had plenty of time to wipe it around. I could have put one spray and wiped it all over the whole thing. With this being the furry side, I have to spray every part because it's just going to soak in, soak in, soak in. So that's the difference when you're using emulsions. Now, if you're using the crayon stuff, then yeah, you can use the furry side. It works just fine. Don't want to strop too much. This stropping compound is very, very, very effective. Oh my goodness, so sharp. Gotta love that level of sharpness, man. Come on, hang tight. Look at that. Right through to the other side. Yeah, that's very, 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 very sharp. I'll grab a piece of paper too. Just because I know some people understand paper a little bit better. So very, very, very sharp. And then now, because I'm a maniac, acting like I just cut up a bunch of cardboard, I'm sharp. Most psychopaths act like that, but I'm sure we've all done it, where it's like you cut one piece of paper and you're like, damn it, that is so sharp. Like it just burns through hair. Remember that time on on YouTube, I got this video where it was four. That's so fucking sharp. It was four, and I was whittling hair, and when I hit the hair just it looked like it melted, but it was just that sharp. And people were blaming me for heating up my edge and melting the hair. Like that's hilarious. That made me feel really good. That made me feel really, really good. All right. Let's see here. Made the year. Whoop whoop. Hilltown. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you for the support for so long. I've done it. Cody, I hope you can get it. Should I do a full burr removal? I'm gonna bring you guys right back down here in 1 second. Let me just wow. That was kind of cool. I didn't know I was gonna do that. All right. Should I do a full burr removal before moving to the next stone? No. No, you don't need to do either one. So you just when you're done with both sides, just jump to the next stone. Once you have a burr on both sides. So the thing is the one thing that people kind of have to grasp and we don't talk about enough, when you sharpen this side, right? Let me grab a different knife. When you sharpen this side, you get the burr. Then you go to this side. When you go like this, you're probably going to get a burr pretty quick because your burr is just going to flip back over. So when you go like this, you're going to feel a burr. So you're more paying attention to your edge bevel when you flip to the other side, making sure your bevel is cut all the way in. You have your scratches running at an angle from heel to tip, and it has a burr. And you can see your scratches that you put on the edge with the stone are reaching the apex, right? They're going from the top of the bevel to the apex. Make sure of that. Now, once that's achieved, you just go to the next stone. But when you get to the next stone, do a stropping pass. Whatever side the burr is on, just do a stropping pass on the stone. All you're doing is moving the burr out of the way. It's not stripping the burr off because that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to strip the burr off because say if it's a big and you just and you 400 grit stone or something, right? And you just or even a 600. Like, let's say you want to stop at 600, or maybe you want to stop at 1,000 and it is a 600. You go like that and it just rips off, right? It strips everything off, and you get micro tear out now because it just tears it off. Now, I'm not saying that happens all the time. Sometimes it does. Well, now when you get to the next stone, your other stone might not get that out. You spend a lot longer on depending on what stone it is. So what I say, just to prevent micro tear out or anything like that, I like the burr to just naturally pop off. So say if I've sharpened this side, right, and I'm done now, I've sharpened both sides and I'm switching stones and now I grab a new stone. When I get to this side, I'm just going to do a quick stropping pass just like that. Maybe very gentle, no pressure, and all the apex of the stone to get the burr out of the way. Then I'm going to sharpen. Then once I get done and I got the burr on the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing. Move it out of the way very gently, and then sharpen this side. And I will do that with each stone. Does the spring go bad if you leave ammo in a magazine for a period? No, there's actually supposed to do that. So if you have a new firearm, you typically want to do that to break it in because anybody who's ever grabbed a new mag versus a used mag, you can load fast. If you have a brand new mag, man, it's like they're pushing. So you want to keep it loaded, but no, they're designed to stay loaded. And technically, you can buy new springs. Uh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, Mafia. They Exactly. Springs wear with movement. Plus those springs are memory springs, so they're not they're like it's so settled, it will always have pressure, right? It'll always have pressure, and when it does wear out to the point to where it can't lift a bolt, is like almost never like magazines from like World War One are still working. I'm at work and lurking. Sorry, I missed it, but should I use oiled soapy water or dry with the Hapstone starch stones? So if it's the starch stones, don't use anything. Go dry. So that's diamond plates. They're the best diamond plates for 1x62. So good for you on getting those. Go dry. You don't need anything, and which is better for you, just like these, right? When I'm sharpening on these, I don't use anything. I just go dry because it's a diamond plate and there's no reason. And that's the beautiful thing with using diamond plates is there's no fucking mess, right? Because I'll tell you what, man, using water for a while, you start getting sick of using it. Soapy water and water, your fingers get soggy. You see how I had to dry it up and stuff. When you use diamond plates, man, it's so nice because I literally just grab my stuff, set my thing down, and I start sharpening. When I'm done, put it away. It's awesome. Almost forgot about these. Todd, been a member for 22 months. Shout out to Todd. I have 3 magazines for my 9mm. How often do you think I should unload them to keep the screen healthy? I wouldn't unload. I would unload it when you shoot it, or if you're trying to break it in. Like if you really, really want to break it in, then I guess you can. If you want to practice reloads and stuff, then yeah. But I would say just leave it until you shoot it. Unless if you're doing training and stuff, right? Because I'd say if you're doing that, then you might want to unload and stuff. But I'd just keep that fucker loaded. If it's me. You don't want a wet diamond stone that can rust. That's another thing. Yeah, you're right. They can rust. Exactly. And especially depending on what the material is, uh, some of them will rust very fast too. Some of them are no joke. Like you'll be surprised how fast those suckers will rust because they're made out of steel. Now they're supposed to be a stainless steel, but stainless isn't stain proof. This is the M390 from Work Sharp. This is the drop point version. This one is a lot thicker behind the edge. Holy cow, a lot thicker. And we are not going to drag it across this diamond plate. If you look, I am just starting at the heel, my wrist, going across the stone, let all the way get to here. And then once I get to here, I lift my elbow. Bang, bang. And I'm leaning in and out. Just lifting my elbow, drop my elbow, lift my elbow, drop my elbow. Just repetitive. And I already got the double set. You can see. You can see my screen change. I don't know if I can show you guys this because the damn light sucks right here. You can kind of see it right there. Maybe not, but you can see the scratches are not all the way down to the apex. So I was trying to show you is if you look down here, I haven't hit yet. I've hit a little bit right here in the belly. I'm missing at the tip, and I'm missing from like here to here. Oh, you can see it right there a little bit, hopefully. So that means I have to keep working on that until I get that out, until the scratches reach that, right? Because the scratches are starting, in my case, on this knife, I started at the top of the bevel. My scratches are moving their way down. So if I do 5, 10 passes and I look at it, I can see the scratches, but they're nowhere near the impact. So I continue to grind until it hits the apex. Now, if I'm at too low of an angle and it's something like this will take forever, I might raise it a little bit, just make it take not as long. See, right there, we got most of it out now. Now I have this little part left that isn't hit, but it's hit all the way up to the tip now. So we have a little bit to heal. Remember what I said earlier? When you get to the heel, when you get a spot where it's not going, like, because I've been hitting the heel the whole time. It's just not grinding it out. So what I'm going to do my same angle, same exact angle as this, and I'm even going to start doing it. So I'm going to get the groove going where it's the same angle all the way across because I say if I made like a subtle tiny difference in the way I put the, restarted, then I'm going to make sure the entire bevel is that. So now I'm going to stop. I'm going to focus at the heel, and I'm going to apply pressure at the heel. So I'm basically kind of just like leaning in like that. That's dramatic, but you guys get the point. I'm leaning in, and now I'm just grinding that low corner. So I'm going to start the pressure there and then move it all the way across. Pull down. I'm pulling down off of the stone. Basically, it kind of like feels like this in a way. I'm allowing the corner to hit, and then I'm finishing it off. And I almost got it. It's going to be a little tough on that corner, man. But I'm applying pressure only in the corner of the stone. And now I got to blend it in. Anytime you work on one part like that, you got to blend it in. I always say, don't do too many passes before you blend it in. We're almost there. We're going to flip it over and get the other side really quick. And we'll come back to that side. Did you see the crew wear all set in smock? Is the audio kind of funky for the rest of you, or is it just me? Oh, dude, I'm sorry if it is. Let me see something. Maybe stop recording. I think I know what's up. Oh no. Yeah, I know my audio just cut off. Hang on. Hang on, baby. I'm looking for my other mic.
Are you done?
No, I'm still live. I'm trying to find my other mic. I don't know where the hell my white mic is. Where the hell's my other mic? This sucks. Hopefully this one starts back up. There's no sound. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's better. Return speaker. Pause that. What, dude? It's on. Sounds good now, though. I can shut the thing off if you guys want, but it's just it seems like me when if I don't have a microphone on, I have it back on. Let me know if it's still good. Read chat. I mean, if it's good, I can turn it back off, or I can just leave it. You guys want me to turn it off? I have my microphone on. I can leave it the way it is right now, or I can turn it off. Give me off or on. Off or on. Sounds good. Let's do it. Okay, so again, we switch sides. So now again, we're focusing at the heel of the knife, the first inch of the blade. That's where we're focusing our angle at, and that's where we're also focusing our pressures, just right here. As you come across a stone, I'm going to transfer the pressure by lifting my elbow up to the tip. See how my elbow moves? Do it again. And drop it down, but I'm never moving my wrist. That way, I'm not changing angle. So this is how I can go back and forth, back and forth. Right now, I'm just leaning in and out. I'm not moving my elbow or my wrist, so I'm locked in. Now, when I start moving my elbow, I'm getting the entire blade shape. But remember, my elbow has nothing to do with the angle. It has everything to do with the blade shape. And there we go. We're not all the way to the apex yet, but I can hear either way. We're gonna do all atomas with this one. Here we go. Oh yeah, we're looking great. This side's going really well. Had that angle perfect. So. Now I'm just leaning it back and forth, but I'm just using my elbow to get to the tip or back down to the heel. When I say heel, I'm talking about this. Heel If a speaker is on, playing the sound microsecond leak frequency. Yeah, it's probably the noise cancellation on this thing. Maybe the computer has it on. Like I said, I'll shut the son of a bitch off if you guys want. I can do that right now. I do have another mic. I was going to turn the other one on. I also have a whole nother mic too I could use. Don't want to. Why they that said don't want a wet diamond stone? They can rust. Hence, no, the steel rusts. This is on a metal plate. So steel, anything steel can rust, right? Even stainless steel rusts. It's just stainless. So it takes longer to rust, but it still can rust. So the diamonds won't protect it from rusting. So if you allow it to get wet and then you don't dry it off completely and every once in a while oil it, it will get rusty. I've seen people rust their diamond plates the first time they ever sharpened. Like after they put them away, they went to back to get them the next day, and they already had rust on them. I've even done that with some. DMTs are horrible for that. DMT diamond plates, they rust really fast. I didn't even get any water on. I mean, I probably got water from using other stones and it just like getting on them. I never put water on my diamond plates with DMT, and they still rust. That's why I like these Atomas, man. I've never rusted an Atoma. Never, ever have I rusted one. And they've been around a lot of water. I don't put water directly on them. They're around water. What up, Brian? I thought you. Why can't I sharpen a knife? I spent hours sharpening, never gets ready to sharp. I'm going to tell you exactly why here in 1 second. I thought you were saying the diamonds itself. No, nope. So are there any diamond-friendly diamond plates? These are tones are a bit pricey. Yes. So you can go if you watch. I just did a video on what diamond plates you should get. I give you budget options in that video. Go watch that video. I recently did it. It was only a couple weeks ago. And Sharp Ball is a good choice. Or go to Ultra Sharp. You can get the 2x6 stones, a 3-stone set, 2x6s for this size for like $62. You'll get 3 stones like this for $62. That size. So, stupid. But they are not all created equally. So the cheaper you go, the worse they're going to be. If you go very, very, very ultra sharps are the best cheap stone. If you go any cheaper than that, they're probably going to like Sharp Ball's another one. Sharp Ball's really good. But going cheaper than that, you are going to just out really quick. They don't hold on. Now the reason why you're not able to sharpen is because one, you're not watching my videos. That's the main reason. Then two, you haven't watched my step-by-step or my beginner's guide video or how to sharpen a knife in 10 minutes. All those videos are how to sharpen a knife in 5 minutes. You have that video. Those videos have gems in them. You got to watch those videos that I did. They're my videos. How to sharpen a knife in 10 minutes. Like I said, beginner's guide, step-by-step for freehand, like things like that. Because if you watch those, you should have no problem doing it. The beginner's guide to freehand is a good one for you to do, and I show you exactly what to get, how to start, and everything. I'm telling you, watch that video, and you should have a sharp edge the next time you sharpen. Another thing, and this is a big detail, a big detail. When you're starting to learn, don't just use any knife. That's the worst thing to do because you don't have a perception on what's thin or thick or anything. You also don't have a perception on what's a good skill. If you're just grabbing some shitty kitchen knife, you're never gonna get it sharp because it's fucking some no-name steel that doesn't get sharp, right? Just because it came sharp from the factory on high fucking belt on rapid belts, that's not the same. It's not ever gonna get sharp again, not like you think. Maybe you can get a little sharp, but it's not hard enough, right? Those steel sold to stores to resell, and they're just mass produced, and they're not good. You need a decent knife, and I'm not even saying expensive. but get like a Civivi or a Sen cut. Sen cuts are like $35. Get, but you want something thin, something with not a thick edge. If you're going to get a kitchen knife or something like that, just get a decent one, but get something thin, thin behind the edge. Sen cut and Civivi make thin blades. Um, Watch some reviews, listen to, like I would say, the Elementum. The Elementum's a good one, especially the Elementum button lock with a 3.5-inch blade. That one is probably like one of my number one recommendations for, and it's just like this. It's like a gravity knife like that, where you push a button, it locks shut and locks open. Uh, that one has really good geometry for sharpening, a really good plunge grind, has a good shape. It's perfect for sharpening, to learn sharpening. But that's your biggest problem, most likely. It's probably what you're trying to learn on. The worst thing to learn on is a cheap knife. I'll tell you that much. You're never going to get that sharp. So you might as well give up. Seriously. I remember when I was younger trying to sharpen some cheap knives. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I would literally I'd be sitting there all day, like grinding and like looking at it, like, what is going on? And it wasn't my fault. It was the steel. The steel was just butter soft. Like, so every time I sharpened, even if I got a burr, the burr it just roll over, and I go to this, it just rolls over. It never allows it to get a clean apex. Like, it's always just folding over. There's never no apex. So it's just soft. I haven't tried much quality steels freehand though. You definitely want to do quality steels freehand, because that's the way you want to learn. It doesn't have to be high end. Don't mean that. Nitro V, 14C28M. Those are good steels. 10 CR, 9 CR, 9 CR, ARPM 9, even 8 CR you can learn on. 8 CR is getting a little bit cheap, but still though, it's still a decent steel to learn how to sharpen on, and it gets very sharp. But anything under that, I would say just stay away from. Learn how to sharpen on 8 CR or up. Now, one problem is just because the company is using a good steel doesn't mean they're not doing a shit job with it. As we seen yesterday with the company's knives I reviewed. Things are garbage, man. I feel bad, but even though it's supposed to be a good knife company with good steel, or not good steels, with like good steels, it just doesn't mean it is. But if you really maintain the angle, you can get almost every steel sharp. Yeah, but the problem is anybody beginning can't maintain an angle, right? That's the problem. Is one, they can't maintain a perfect angle, and also the softer steel is the harder to maintain, because it's easier to maintain an angle on a steel where kind of like the stick in the crayon story I said earlier. Sharpening a crayon versus sharpening a stick. A stick is easier to get sharp because it's harder. A crayon is so soft, it's like mushing, right? So it's not going to be easier to get sharp. So it's kind of concept. So yes, anything can get sharp as far as steels go, but it's how easily it got sharp and how sharp it got, and obviously how well it holds it. But even aside from that, the soft steels are like mushing steel, right? So when you get to the apex, right now you got the apex, you're mushing steel, so now it mushes over, right, and then like that. That's the way it is. So hard steel that's done well, that's proper, will be hard enough to get a keen edge and then develop a burr, and then you can snap that burr off. But even then, another thing is that if it's shitty, if it's let's say it'll get an apex burr, but it's not good enough that the apex will pop right off. Now you still haven't gotten the sharp edge because you can't remove the burr, and you can't remove it properly without damaging the edge in order to do it, because the burr is so gummy that it's hanging onto the apex. So now instead of you just removing a burr very nicely and revealing the nice sharp apex, now you're folding a burr back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until it starts chiseling into your apex, ruining the sharp edge you just put on the knife. Obviously, well, 14C has become my favorite carbon magnet cut out. Yeah, both great. Maybe because I use cheap whetstones too. Yeah, cheap. What I mean, there's nothing wrong with cheap whetstones. as long as you just don't expect a lot out of them, right? They're fine. You can use them. Just don't use them on any high wear resistant steels. Anything with large carbide, large carbide ratio, which is in the steel. That's what makes high edge retention steels is the carbides. So as long as it doesn't have that, as long as it's a low carbide steel, you're fine to use those stones. They're not the best. They tend to dish out. You got to condition them. You got to keep them in water, flatten them. They don't cut fast. Like this cuts fast, very fast. Okay, that was a 140. That's a wore out 140, by the way. So it's more like a 400. But now we're gonna switch over to that's a 6. It feels like a 12. Can't see. Yeah, it's 12. So where the fuck is my 400? Oh, there she is. All right. Got the 400. This feels more aggressive than the 140 right now because it's newer. Need to get a new 140. I love those 140s. The 140 at home is like the best profiling stones because they're so aggressive and they cut so fast. Like the one I was just using is very old and has been used a ton. But when the first year of having a 140 Atoma, whew, it just reprofiles so fast. I have a burr all the way here. My scratch has reached my edge here, but I don't have a burr yet. Need to continue working on it until. There we go. What's up, Bluetooth? Thank you for joining. All right, now we're switching over to this side. So we had it locked in on this side, reprofiled, switched to this stone to the 400. You know what? I have a little tiny bit I want to hit it here. Just grinding right here at the corner. I'm kind of grinding it in like that. And then I'm going to blend it in. And when I get to the tip, I'm just lifting my elbow all the way up until I see the tip hit. Don't want to lift it up too high, but I want to make sure the tip hits. But as soon as it hits, don't have to go higher than as soon as it hits. You got it. Beautiful. Okay. See how I just knocked the burr back? Just knocking out of the way. Now with this stone, I don't really have to, but from this stone to the next stone, I might want to, just because I'm probably going to remove enough material that it's not going to play an effect if there was any micro tear out or anything. Blue 27 mods. Holy shit. That's what I'm saying. Holy shit. Over 2 years. That's support, man. I appreciate the love, guys. You guys are so awesome. I greatly appreciate you guys. By the way, for those of you that are in here, for the members, we have a members giveaway coming up. But for everybody, we have a Whatnot Live coming up where I'm doing an auction and I'm selling some crazy shit. It's going to be my biggest one yet. Not biggest in size, but biggest in stuff. You know, you see some winter blades, you might see some custom Dencos, who knows what you might see. Sharpening systems, sharpening supplies, who knows? You never know what you might see. So I'm just letting you guys know, you guys might want to show up on the 15th of this month at 8 p.m. Central to the Whatnot Live. I will also try to stream it on YouTube if I can, but either way, it will be on. Literally, I'll be posting videos on it here in the next couple days. It's going to be a doozy. It's a doozy. Oh, it's beautiful. Got a little bit the tip we got to get. Oh, man, it's so nice. All right, let's jump to the 6. Now, you don't have to use this many stones. going from 140, 400 to 600, I could have went from 140 to 600, or went from the 400 to the 600, or even up to the 1200 from the 400. I'm doing it just because I want my 1200 to last a lot longer. So I have the stones to use, so I'm going to use them, but I don't have to. And if you're really, really, really good at holding your angle, you are less likely to wear it out faster. But people that struggle with holding their angle, they're the ones that are going to spend a lot longer on a stone, especially if they're jumping from a coarse to an ultra fine. It sometimes is a little bit more difficult for you to jump, and it's just because you are not perfect yet. So you're not holding your angle perfect, which can show in you changing stones. Basically, like your angle is slightly different, and now you're gonna have fastest. Now you got to replace that entire bevel with your new bevel, of which is a finer grit now, so it's gonna take you longer. If that makes sense. And it was so beautiful. um, shave beard with it. Show it shop. I did a beard shaving video with a knife I sharpened, but it was a straight razor. I actually used a straight razor a couple months ago to shave. It worked really well. I sharpened it first. Knives like this, you can use it. It'll definitely shave no problem, but they're not thin enough. And this wouldn't be enough. You'd want, like, when you do those, when you shave your face, in order not to get razor burn, stuff like that, you don't want a serrated edge. For an EDC knife, I want a serrated edge. I want a, and from Sharpening, right? I want scratch pattern, even if it's polished edge. I want bite. Well, that's what you don't want with a straight razor. You're not looking for bite, because that's your skin and shit. All right. Now we are up to 1200. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, this is as fine as I'll go with a diamond plate for uh for a regular diamond plate. If it's a diamond stone, like a bonded stone, then I'll go up finer. But for a regular diamond plate, 1200 grit is the finest I'll go, because even these are not going to last as long as, say, the 400 or the 600. They're going to wear out way before, especially if you're using them often. Beautiful. Listen, you. That's the little diamond clusters in perfect formation. Yeah, that looks great. 220, 325, and 600 grit. What are you saying, Matt? Belt sharpeners will heat up the steel. Yeah, that's true. Definitely. Belt sharpeners can definitely heat up your edge and damage it. You just want to make sure, like, say if you use the work sharp belt sharpener, run it at a slow RPM. Make sure it's running really slow. Don't let it get hot, especially to the touch. Like if it's ever hotter than you can touch, then that's not good. You don't want to see sparks ever, things like that, because that can just, it'll burn your edge, and then now your edge is compromised at the like. It doesn't mean your knife is ruined. It just means the edges. So basically, you lose like 60% of the edge retention. So even though it's sharp, right, you're using it and it'll go dull pretty quick. You're like, damn, what the fuck? I just sharpened it. And it's because it's burnt. So now you just have to remove like 1 to 2 sharpenings worth of steel to get back into good steel. So that's why you don't use like belt grinders and stuff like that, like companies do. That's because they're doing knives, so many, and they have to sell them to you cheap, right? Knives come from with a burnt edge. Workshop doesn't. Workshop uses slow belt, but a lot of companies do. A lot of companies are pass it, pass. You know, they're trying to get. They need to sharpen. Like, remember, time is everything. So if they're spending long sharpening, they're losing money. So they need to go as fast as possible to get you a sharp edge. So whatever they can get you a sharp edge super fast, they're going to do, regardless of your edge. Okay, I'm going to spend just a couple more seconds on this side, and then we are done. I'm going to deburr. I'm just going to do a few passes on this side, diminish the burr a little bit. Then go to this side, and I'm going to do just, you know what? I'm going to go right to my ultra fine. And I'm just going to use this to remove my burr. So again, like I said before, when I'm done sharpening one side, I have my burr on this side right now. Earlier, could you guys see that burr I showed you on that last knife? That was, man, in my view, it looked really, really good. I can't tell if you guys seen it well, but it looked great to me through the camera lens. There we go. Oh my goodness. That's fucking sharp too. Damn, that's damn near a polished edge. And I didn't sharpen it, I just removed the burr. So that 3000 grit right there doesn't count. Stopped on 1200 and then stopped on 0.5 micron. It's damn near a polished edge. Do feel a little bit of a burr right there though. There. Oh my, I do feel a little right there. Hold on. I might need to hit it on the, feels like it's gone now, but see if it comes back when I strop the other side. If it does, I'll hit it on the stone one more time. I might not strip it all the way off. Feels good. We'll see. That is sharp. That's with a loose paper towel too. The looser it is, the harder it is. Yeah, it's pretty damn sharp. This paper towel's getting low, so it's not going to do it the best. The lighter they get, the harder it is. New paper towel roll is the easiest. I can do it all the way till it's dead, but it's just nice. There, I want to cut it off. Trying to keep it all in one piece so I don't have to pick up a bunch of little scraps. Very, very, very sharp. Yes, I'm a lunatic. But yeah, that's beyond hair whittling. Hair shaving, like it's just, it'll shave any direction. It'll just treetop hairs all day. Oh yeah, it's shave facial hair really easily. Yeah, it's a cloudy finish. Very, very so much sharper. All right, let's shoot the shit for a little bit, guys, and then we'll hang it up. I know this live was supposed to go in the short speed. I don't think it did, but that's fine. Stay course. Lead the way, legend. Thank you, Mr. O. Appreciate that, brother. And thank you for the support. Been a member for 2 months. How do I avoid facets when deburring on fixed angle? That's a good question. I gotcha. When I put light pressure, just fatigue the burr, it doesn't match. And regular pressure doesn't make the burr small enough. So You should have no problem. You shouldn't have to change angle. You should only use light pressure, and you want to go tip to heel. I'm sure you're trying to do that with the way it sounds. You want to just go tip to heel, just like this with your stone. Do that like 4 or 5 times. Flip over, do it a few times, 3 or 4 times. Flip over a few times, flip over a few times. Then when you flip back over here, now do regular passes. Very gentle, no pressure, and just keep going back and forth. If you have to, you can add a tiny, tiny bit of pressure, but not much. That typically will get rid of it. That'll knock it off. Now, for very, very, very stubborn burrs, you could, and I'm not saying to do this, could raise your angle up like a half a degree or like 1 degree, which will ensure that you hit your apex, which will cut it off. But I would try to avoid doing that if you can, because I mean, not avoid it, but if you don't have to do it, don't do that. Otherwise, use a ceramic. Ceramics have this nature to them. It's just very so. It's kind of hard to explain, but a ceramic, while this is like 5, 10,000 grit, this is very aggressive. Meaning, like, it's so hard on your edge that when you touch it's like touching something much more aggressive. Even though it's not going to sharpen aggressively, it's not gonna remove steel aggressively, but it will do is it'll cut into your apex really hard. So that's why when you do, like, micro beveling or edge burr removal on ceramic, you use no pressure because you adding and you do have to use pressure because you have a very bad burr, but if you add pressure, like, it is so easy to cut into your apex with one of these. So this is a great tool to remove a stubborn burr. The next thing is you can drag it through a piece of wood. If you have a really, really stubborn burr, you can take your apex, go right into a piece of wood just like this, and just go just like that. Do that like 2 or 3 times. It won't dull your edge at all. It'll just remove the burr. Wood is so soft compared to the steels we use. It's like a cushion to it. So that's why I can chop right now on this wood, and it's not gonna hurt. Can we get a story time this weekend? Henry, I would do story time. I think that's a great idea. Story time. We definitely need to do story time. It's been a while. Jared, one of these days, share your personal collection or your top favorites. I got some videos coming up with some of my top favorites. He's got a video he just did a few days ago where he showed his top 15 current favorites. Well, it's not technically my top 15, but it's 15 knives I can't stop showing people, which implies that it's some of my favorites. I'm not saying they are my favorites because I have such a big collection, guys. I could throw all the knives away that I showed and come up with another 15 that I love just as much. My collection is so big. That's why I'm getting rid of a lot, decreasing, and yeah. It's not all steals, but some are finicky. Thank you for the advice. Yes, Lucas, that's true. And that's the thing is that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna run into finicky steals, and that's why it's good for you to do both. Do good steals and do fucked up steals, do bad steals, do finicky steals, because that's what's gonna teach you the difference. And that's literally how I learned how I can get right on a stone and be like, "Oh, this is some good steel." Like you just know, you can tell, like it has the same indicators as all the others, right? But if you don't have the other indicators of bad ones, you won't know. Bluetooth, 5 bones, just in case, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate that. What if we and story time. Story time. Yeah, I miss doing story time. When's the next whatnot? Whatnot is on the 15th, and then so we're doing a members live this coming week. I don't know what day the 15th lands on. I can't remember. If you guys can let me know, but I have a Whatnot Live already scheduled for the 15th at 8 p.m. Central Time. So I'll see you guys live for that. But then I'll do a members live sometime at the end of the week, probably Friday. What is your favorite stones? Yeah, King. If you're talking about like Japanese water stones, yeah, the Kings. Man, I look so gray in the in this video. Unlike my camera, it's so crystal clear. What's your favorite? Yeah, the king stones for wet stones. Yeah, but my favorites are resin bonded diamonds. Those are my favorites. Those are my true loves. Henry G with the 2 bones. Thank you, brother. Kevin Smith, been a member for 18 months. Shout out to you. Thursday, Thursday. Okay, so Friday, too many live. Yeah. Okay, so we can do Saturday maybe then. Friday or Saturday. We'll do the members live, but I do have the whatnot live on Thursday. Funny. Um, yeah, my dad. I was gonna say this earlier in the video that I did with the Medford knife. I actually have in my pocket right here. Badass. I almost told a story because I mentioned my father at the beginning of the video, and I contemplated on telling a story about him. Not that this is story time or anything, but just a quick little, schmitty. Um, I was gonna tell this, and I thought about it, I was like, might not be good. But my dad, my dad had a mouth on him, right? Like, he would say some of the craziest shit at the craziest times. He was never scared to say whatever. Right? I mean, he grew up a construction worker, right? And at this point, he's paralyzed, hit by a backhoe. He's been through fucking hell and back, and he's still fighting. He's driving and everything. Wheelchair. He can roll right into a van, and he's got the hand control. And he's a crazy bastard, fucking gangster. He's got fucking everybody. At the tip of the finger. Just a phone press away, and lots of people around him, like lots of tough guys around him. And anyway, so I would have to warn my friends, like my new friends, like if they're old friends, they already knew, but like if they're new friends, I'd have to warn them. Like for the guys, I'd have to tell them, like, listen, my dad's gonna press you. Like he's gonna test you. So I have to tell him, like, don't be a bitch. Because he's gonna come for you, he's gonna test you, right? And I'd also tell him, like, like, don't be a bitch, but also don't step out of line either. But yeah, he would, say some crazy shit. And the girls, I would have to tell them, I'd have to warn the girls, like, listen, dad's gonna ask you to sit on his face. I just want you to know that. Like, don't worry, can't get up, he's paralyzed, but he's gonna ask you that. And then if you say no, he's gonna ask about your mother. Like, I swear to God, this would happen every time. And there was a new friend, there was a girl that come in the house. He wanted them to sit down and talk to him, and eventually it would come up. What do you think about sitting on my face? And luckily, the ones that knew how to deal with it, right? The ones that knew how to joke, how to be. Well, he's very serious, right? Well, he's very, very serious. He's also okay with it being humor, right? So, like, if you know how to play ball, oh, he loves you. That's what I said about, like, the guys, right? Like, if you know how to handle yourself in a room full of dangerous guys, guys pressing and stuff, he'd like it, right? And then with the girls, like, if the girls knew how to, handle themselves in a, crazy situation like that, because to be around, you're gonna be around that shit. So you had to test them basically. And a lot of them would fail. Man. I had girls before run out. Put it this way, our nurses, the nurses he had after getting hurt was only for about 2 weeks. They wound up running out of the fucking place, leaving, and then saying they would never come back because one bent over in front of him and he grabbed a little titty, and then another one, what the other one do? Oh, she bent over and he, grabbed her, and And, while that could be considered a lot of different things, because the position he's in and everything, they're his nurse, so they couldn't really do anything. And it happened in the hospital too a couple times. And he would do it just to fuck with people. Like, like he wasn't like, you know, like pervert or anything like that. I don't want you to think, like, obviously he's a guy, so he's a little bit of pervert somehow. But I'm saying, like, he would just do it to mess with people. Like, it was just his thing. Like I said, like, he didn't give a shit. And it was crazy as hell. So he would just do the craziest things at any given moment, especially if he could get away with it, right? If he could get away with it, he's definitely. But so, a lot of the girls, man, they'd fucking be running for the hills. They'd never want to come back. And there'd be the ones that would know how to deal with it, know how to maintain it, and then you know, he'd treat them like gold. And same thing with like the guys, like if the guy, especially like if the guy can handle being tested, like doing something, like say something happened, right? And you'd have to go and handle business or whatever. If you could do that, then he knew you'd be useful, right? So he could, get you to do things because there's always shit happening, from cars breaking down. You never know what can happen, right? So you want to know that the guys around you are capable men, right? So, but yeah, just like his thing, man. He would test just about everybody, and some people, man, really got put through hell because they didn't know how to handle it or didn't know what to do or whatever. And some of them were so good at it that they'd have to go through hell. It's kind of a weird thing. Kind of like myself, I guess. The only reason I look forward to getting old and senile is to do crazy shit to mess with people. Yeah, so he wasn't senile. He wasn't senile, so that was the thing, is he was perfectly in his right mind. And you could maybe argue that, but he was perfectly in his right mind. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. My brother passed away. He used to say that shit. He always wanted to get old, and I understood what he meant. Like he was like, I can't wait till I'm fucking old. That's what my brother used to say. Um, before he passed away, he'd say, wait till I'm fucking old. He's like, because then I can just not give a shit. I can just kick back, and he would talk about like just kicking back, drinking because that's what he loved to do. Like he wasn't. Me and him did the same shit, but he was very different than me with a lot of things. Like I was always the one fighting and doing shit like that. Not that he wasn't, but he wasn't. He was more of a lover than a fighter, and he wasn't. Yeah, he liked to relax, and chill, and I was more rambunctious, running around. But he was like, I can't wait to get old and just be able to lay back, relax, and not give a shit, read my newspaper or whatever. Um, oh, he always, yeah, my dad always seen the potential in everybody. If you know, knew what time it was. I grew up on a meritocracy. You want worse shit? We will forge that turd into a champion. Yeah, and that's kind of the way it was, but you got to have the potential, right? Like you got to have the potential to start with because some people are just too weak to even be forged. So it's like it's not even worth putting the effort in. And also it's about danger, like too risky, you don't know what they can see, not see, and then also if something dangerous did happen or something, what are you gonna do, right? You gonna run or you know what I mean? Like one time I was up on I told this story just really quick. I was up on a roof and a guy that was scared of heights left me up on a roof holding the trusses on a windy day. And he literally was up there. I didn't know he was scared of heights. I had no idea. This is like this guy's a fucking animal. Like normally like fearless. And so I never knew this about him. Like I must not have ever did trust with him or something. But I'm up there, I'm holding it, and then he's up there, he holds it, the wind hits, and he goes, "Oh fuck that," and run. And now I'm up there, and it's like I could have killed me. Like literally, I was holding on to the things for like all of my strength because if one goes down, this goes do all the way down. And even though they are pinned and stuff, like it can be a disaster, especially when you first start. But anyways, but like little things like that, and, things can go 0 to 60 real quick, and people can lose their lives. So if you have somebody who's too scared and doesn't know how to deal with the situation, it might not be the best. But like if you can see the potential in somebody, yeah, it's great to forge people into what they are. And I'm blessed that I always had the men around me to do that. Like I was at such a young age being tested in every way possible. Because I was running around climbing ladders up on roofs, working on roofs, fucking really little, like little as fuck. But that was normal in my family. Probably something that should be said, or you and somebody before you both get up there. Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's what I said too when I get done. I said, you could have told me that before you got on the ladder. You know, um, this guy was an absolute beast. I didn't hold it against him, but I was a little pissed off. Like, dude, you could have killed him. Man. Like, but sometimes, like there's certain people. Like, I haven't met a ton of them, but I've met a few people that are just absolutely terrified of heights, and it's not like you can talk them out of it. So no, no, no reason to argue with him. The guy was a hard worker. I think now he's working on oil rigs. What's up, Jared? Your mic volume is kind of choppy. Sorry if it's been addressed. Yeah, it's been addressed. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna shut. So how's the mic now? A little bit better. Just a little bit better. Tell me if it's better because I turned my mic off. So can you hear me or is it fucked up? Just curious. Got my first Manix 2. What's a good angle to sharpen it whenever it starts? 15 degrees per side. What I do on all my Manixes. Spider coats typically, not all, so don't quote me. Most spider coats are 15 degrees per side. Some of them are a little different. I am wondering about the distance or angle of the clip-on. You're talking about this, some of this, usually higher on the newscasters. Okay. I'm not sure what you're asking. You talking about this thing? Yeah, I turned my mic off. So hopefully you guys the mic. Um, I don't know, man. I had it on a magnet. It's normally it's fine. But I normally don't go live on this with this. I normally use completely different stuff. So, yeah, this might be some adjusting. Very speaker. No, there's no speaker playing on my phone. Is it bad? I'll turn the microphone back on, guys. I told you guys weren't going to like it without the microphone. What are your thoughts on? You guys want me to turn the mic back on? I'll turn it back on. This is off right now. I'll turn it back on. What are your thoughts on Arkansas stones? I feel like they are not popular yet. So I always loved Arkansas, and I wound up buying a bunch of them when my younger years when I first started because I was told they were like the best stones. And all right, we're gonna try this again. How about now? A little bit better. Um, so I always loved Arkansas, but they're just not good for high carbide steel. So if you're talking about doing modern steel, it's not gonna work. That's the problem. So any sort of high carbide steel, S110, S90, M390, 20 CV, so on and so on, they're not going to work well. They're not going to work at all. They're not going to cut the carbides. So in order to make sure you cut carbides, you're going to want diamond. Now, if you're sharpening some budget steel, some low performance steel, not bad, steel, lower performance steel, you can use them. They're fine. They're not fast cutters. You typically want to start with a diamond or like a silicon carbide or aluminum oxide stone, and then go uh, to the Arkansas because there's Arkansas soft, hard, and then the translucents. I have all of them, and they're just not fast cutters. Is that Big Brown Bear? Holy shit! Look who's in the house. Big Brown Bear's in the house. Shout out to Triple B. Shout out to Triple B's in the house. That's if you guys don't know, I'm sure you guys know. This is 15V man. This is the guy who does the 15V for Spider. out to them. We were talking about 15 feet earlier. But yeah, it's too soft, like you just said. It's too soft, and but I always loved them. Always, yeah. That was the only problem. So I don't use them in years, but at one time I really liked them because the thing is technically they'll sharpen up any steel. Most stones will sharpen up any steel. How long and shitty they are. But the thing is what happens is if you could zoom in to that edge with like the best microscope ever, like even better than my microscopes, if you could zoom in, you're gonna see that edge on a microscopic level, and you're gonna see carbides just hanging out everywhere, right? But if you cut it with a proper abrasive, and I'm talking about a high carbide steel, right? Cut it with a proper abrasive, you'll see the carbides are cut. Well, if they're not cut, and say you use Arkansas, and like say you use Sharpen K390, all the carbides are gonna hang out. Now, what's gonna either happen is they're gonna shatter and then start crumbling out, or two, they're gonna stay there until you start cutting stuff and then shatter, right? So it just winds up becoming, an edge that literally loses like all its performance, right? Because now you're gonna have what feels like microchipping. Even though it's not technically microchipping, really, it's just carbide cracking and from your abrasives. So, then you lose like 60% of your edge retention. Like we did a cut test a few years ago on the bad abrasive versus good abrasive, and it literally doubled in edge retention. And it wasn't even like a like M390 something. Like it wasn't like it was like S110V or something like that. It was just M390, and it still doubled in edge retention. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it, Robert. I've learned a lot of this stuff from that guy right there. Um, I was listening to him for years. So, like, you guys think I've been doing this for a while. Triple B in here, he's been doing this way shit. When I first started, that's what I was listening to. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. It took me years. All the things I heard them saying, I had to put into my practice. So I was listening to everything they were saying. I wasn't taking it as true. And I only did that just because I'm kind of stubborn and I feel like sometimes I get to my own results and they're different. So I just did. I just tested and did what I did. And went through all kinds of testing and not just one, but I did like dozens of tests of like the same type of test. And I'd come to my own conclusion. And in the end, a lot of stuff winds up being the same as everybody else because they came to the same conclusion years and years of doing shit. And it just is, it just is what it is. And obviously there's myths and things out there, and then some things are people, and then some things are mistaken, right? Kind of like the carbide thing we were talking about. People used to think it was like carbide air out, which you could argue is just you're just talking semantics, but it was basically carbides cracking and then falling out, or whatever. So it wasn't the abrasive ripping it out or anything like that, or a bad heat treatment letting it rip out. It was the abrasive that was being used to sharpen said steel. Uh, but yeah, it's amazing the amount of knowledge that we've gotten. I would say in the past 15 years in steel life community, blades, edges, and things like that. Like I personally think we've jumped more in the past 20 years. You can maybe argue 30 years than we have in 200 years. Which I guess if you look at it, this is everything, right? With literally everything done that. It's so stupid when I hear people die on the edge trailing only hill. Yeah, I don't understand that for sure. I know I have people that argue a lot of different things. Like somebody was trying to argue with me about kind of that, right? Saying you shouldn't go back and forth, or you shouldn't if you're sharpening a knife like we were just doing a minute ago, and you're going, back and forth, while staying on the stone, or going single passes, or going edge trail. Right? There's always somebody that will bitch one to the other, and I always have to tell them like, if you can hold the angle, it really doesn't matter. Like it's so negligent. Like it's such a tiny. You'll never, ever, ever, ever in a million years know the difference if you're holding the angle. What's going to be the difference is whether or not you can hold the angle. If you hold the angle as you're leading the whole time and hold it well, with lifting up, redoing it, good. If you can hold on to that same angle, go across the stone and literally hold that angle, good. If you can't, then don't blame it on somebody else that it's bad, or don't tell somebody else that it's bad. It's just you can't hold the angle. But some people will try something and they can't do it, so they basically say that, and then somebody else tells them, that, oh, you're not supposed to do it that way, and then they hang on to that information and act like it's true. But in many cases, it's just you do have to use what works for you, right? There's going to be things that work better for you than me, and sometimes it's technique, sometimes it's luck of the draw. There's a lot of variables, but there are just certain things that tend, in my opinion, tend to work better for the most. Like sometimes I'll run into somebody who I'm teaching a technique to, and they're just not good at it, and they learn something else that works better for them. And high fives to them. If you figured out a different way that works for you, so be it. And then tell other people. Maybe it'll help them. I try to say what works best for me and what I've been able to help the majority with. But there's still going to be some outliers out there that just are better at blank. You know, I want to get to the point where I can yell at a knife and it sharpens. It's funny. Voice activated sharpening. Oh man. That new steel, what the hell's that new steel called? Larry Thomas announced it. Magnamax? Is that right? Magnamax? I might be completely fucking butchering that. Let's just pretend it's Magnamax right now. It's like Magnamax, sharpen. Is it I was right? It was Magnamax? Hey. I was completely wrong. Yeah, Magnamax. That's crazy. I can't wait to try that shit. That's gonna be fucking awesome. Magnamax. So supposedly, for those that don't know, we've had Magna Cut, right? Well, Magna Cut, the one downside, it's not even a downside. I don't want to say downside. I shouldn't say that. The one thing that's a little bit lower on Magna Cut is the edge retention compared to its toughness and corrosion resistance, right? Like I think out of a 10 chart, and I'm just going 1 out of 10. I know some of them go to 1 to 12. But let's say 1 out of 10, it's like, in corrosion resistance, like a 9 out of 10. For toughness, it's like an 8 out of 10, right? Then for edge retention, it's like a 5 out of 10. I'm say 4.55 out of 10. So that would be a big difference between the other numbers. This stuff's supposed to be way, way better in edge retention, and then also still have the toughness. And I seen the thing, and now I can't remember. I can't remember now, but it was like seemed like it was comparable to K390, I think, in edge retention. Comparable to K390 in edge retention, which I fucking love K390. Probably my favorite. It's definitely my favorite steel. Twice the carbide volume. Twice the carbide volume. There you go. Twice the carbide volume. So that tells you a lot right there. It's Magna but for those big boots. Is it true? Turn this so you guys can see me read. Is it true? Dog quickly via tooth the edge. I think you prefer mirror. No, so it depends on the steel. So it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the steel, geometry, uh, heat treatment. So certain steels do really well with mirror polished edge. Now the majority, right? The majority of them, yes. The majority of them don't do great with the mirror polished edge, but some do. Most do. All steels, for the most part, I'm using all very general. 600 to 1200 grit does really well on almost all steel. You can take some steels like CPM 154. That to me, it's like a 400 grit is more like a 600 grit. A 600 grit's more like a 1200 grit. It's kind of weird like that. There's a couple other steels like that, but for the most part, between 6 and 1200 grit is going to be a perfect grit for most steels. But then there's some that do really well with an ultra fine edge. They hold it really well. It's very toothy. It has a lot of bite, like a significant amount of bite, and it holds it well. Now, the angle is going to play a huge part of it, like a massive part. Like you take just about any, you put a super high edge angle on there, and go to a fine edge, yeah, it's gonna get slick as shit. It's not gonna have no bite. But that's because of the angle, because trying to polish something, at an obtuse angle versus something at a low angle. Now, if you take those steels and put them at a super low angle and then sharpen 'em up to 5,000 grit or whatever, they will a significant amount of bite. And I found, and this isn't all, I don't wanna make this with a broad paintbrush or whatever the fuck the term would be, but I found that if you have a steel that has a certain amount of toughness and edge retention or wear resistance in it, that seems to be the better steel for maximum performance with polished edges or fine edges. So if the steel has tons of wear resistance but low toughness, tends to not. Just some examples that will, but I'm just saying for the most part. But if you can get it like 5 out of 10 toughness, 4 to 5 out of 10 toughness, and 8 out of 10 edge retention, those do really well. Or or any of the differences between the like where they're good at both. They tend to do not all, most of them do really well. Like steels like Crew Wear, 4V, 3V. Uh, MagnaCut does really well with polished. K390, Lex 45. K390 is a beast. Like Crew Wear, 14C28N. That's like a 3.5 out of 10 egg retention, but it's got like a 9 out of 10 toughness or some shit like that. So that really helps it. And it steals does really well with super thin geometry. Nitro V, and a few others. But RWL 34, CPM 154, 154 CM, S35 and a bunch of others. They get slick if you take them to a polish, especially if the angle's not right. All right. MagnaCut above 63 does great with the polish. Yeah, MagnaCut does well. But you're right. The heat treatment and hardness is going to be a huge factor. You can just get it, right? Like I just said this a little bit ago. Sharpen a crayon versus sharpening a stick. The stick is harder, and while the crayon is going to sharpen way faster, it's going to have a shitty edge. And it's not going to be as satisfying as sharpening a stick. It's just the hardness, right? Stick's going to be able to get a lot sharper because of the hardness, right? Same thing with steel, right? If it's harder, it's going to have the ability to really pull that apex out to have a higher level of sharpness, while the crayon crumbles. I like to use that analogy because everybody kind of understands it. Um, wait, what happened? So what kind of edge for steel? Oh yeah, thank you, Todd. Yes, I do have a list of steels and grits for what steel. Uh, CDP 189 is an outlier for that formula, or maybe I just had good results in my example. CDP 189 does do good with a polished edge. Uh, I've always had good results on it, but CDP 189, it has to be the high hardness CDP 189, so 65 to 67 HRC. Uh, but but yeah, I don't know if that would be an outlier. I think that would. I'm trying to think of what its toughness is. I know it's 67 HRC. Its toughness is way low, but I think overall it's a relatively tough steel. But I'm not 100%. I can't think of its toughness. But yeah, it does go with a polished edge. Like that's why Rockstead does the polished edges on them and stuff. But again, edge angle is very important. It's gonna be like one of the most important things. That's why they always say like geometry is the most important. Before everything else, geometry is the most important. And that's with everything, right? Like if you're wanting something tough, geometry is the most important. If you want something slicey, geometry is the most important. Like all these things are, based on the geometry. Jared, you do need to do shit, what happened? An updated bid on that list though. Best edge for the I know I should. I'm gonna do an updated one for sure. 60-40, 80-15 hardness. Toughness is your window for edge. Yes. Depends on here we go. Let's let Big Brown Bear answer this shit. Depends on the microstructure more than just the HRC number. get HRC with more retained austenite, and it's junk versus the 62. Yes, yeah. And hold on, let me finish it. With less RA, which would be stronger at the edge. Yeah, I heard Steve talking about that. He was talking about that. Like I'm not a heat treater, so I definitely don't know the terminology like you do. But yeah, he explained the retained alternate or RA that 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 is going to be the biggest deal of how well like a lot of these things happen. Like say when you get a pesky burr and the burr's just fucking flipping back and forth. He said a lot of times it's from that. Like just other factors of which whether or not it's going to perform or not. And that's poor heat treatment versus like because and I always try to differentiate that between the two, like whether or not it's poor performance from and I said this yesterday in that video I did on cases knives, which I fucking felt horrible about doing, but it just is what it is. But whether or not it was a super soft steel or whether or not the heat treatment was bad, right? I don't know which one, but one of them is definitely the case, if not both, right? More than likely it's both. But you do want to say the both because you'll have some guys that will jump down your throat, if you mention one without the other, which is fine, because people should be educated and at least understand that it could be one and not the other. Um, Lucas says it's like a 2 out of 10. Okay, yeah, it's definitely on the lower side. Just a quick shout out to say hello, buddy. Can't hang out tonight though. On the edge, I appreciate you jumping in. We're about to get out of here, anyways. I've been in here for a long time, so we're gonna get out of here in just a couple minutes. Rock said, keep seeing them at Home Depot for such $20. I'm not sure if they're worth it. Yeah, I'm sure you do, Bob. That's hilarious. I got two rock studs. So I got the Ego and then the Ryu. I think it's called. Um, the one is like $1,500. The other one's like 1,100 or something like that. The one is they're both GDP 189, 66 something HRC. Beautiful knives though. That was a major focus for the CPM 15V heat treatment back when it was being translated to mass production back in 2021. Yeah, I imagine that's the tough part, bringing it from small batch heat treatment to production. And I know I've spoken about that with a lot of steels with companies that are running steels that they shouldn't be. I can name a few, or like say Kaiser, right? They ran that Rex 45 last year or whatever, and I tested it, and it wasn't like it was like just garbage. It wasn't like that, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like Rex 45. Put it that way. It did not perform like Rex 45, and they might have did a decent heat treatment on it, but it was just super soft. And then there's other steels that have other issues, but they're trying to do a steel that they've never done before, and they're doing it on a batch of knives where there's a lot. It's not like they're just doing a little small amount. They're doing a lot. So they're doing mass production, obviously, especially to have the prices. But they're using steels that they've never, ever, ever used. And I've seen them, a lot of these companies, the ones that keep up using whatever steel, you'll see them get progressively better over time. Like they will eventually, like they if they care, right? Some of them don't, some of them, but typically those ones get called out pretty quickly. But but yeah, sometimes, man, I'm like, you might as well just use a different steel. Like, why use that steel if you're not capable of pushing it to the HRC that it's supposed to be, right? Or doing it, to the level it should be, as far as even if you are hitting the right HRC or you're doing it well, then use something else. Use something else. There's nothing wrong with using something else. You don't have to like, of course, we like to see you using certain things, but I would and I've said this so many times, I would way rather have like just a well heat treated 14C than say a shitty heat treated name that steel. So, and I know 14C is easy for them to do. So, intoxicating thing, I know. That's why I keep doing it. It's, it'll get you every time. I told you guys, man, these workshop knives are dope. 3V edge came out fucking brutally sharp. You can see the thickness in the edge difference, though. Look at this. Maybe a little difficult. Thickness in the edge difference because this one's so much thinner. Being 3V, this one's in 390. It's so much thicker. You see how big that bevel is compared to it. The work, big brown bear with the 10 pound. Thank you, brother. Big brown bear with the boundaries. Thanks for educating folks. Thank you, man. I appreciate all the education I've gotten from you, man. So it's been years and years in the making. You were definitely a huge part of it, man. I appreciate you very, very much. Should be doing mini batch and testing. Yeah, you would think they can't. That's the thing. They can't. They don't. They don't have the ability to sell us something, and you do have to appreciate to a small. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying you do have to appreciate that they are trying to get you something that should cost a lot more for so much less than what it should. You know, like when you really, really, when push comes to shove, they are having to cut. And I'm not saying they're cutting like all the much more, because if you think about it, some of these companies are doing a damn good job. When you really look at like, damn man, these fucking knives, some of them are like, holy shit, this is nice. Like it's like it seems like there's no corners cut, right? There's got to be some corners cut in order to get the price, right? So while they're really good at this and that, and, certain things, there's going to be some places where they just have to, and like that would be one of them, right? They're not able to sit there and do these testings over long periods of time to figure things out like that, unless if they fumble the bag along the way and sell it to you. So it just is what it is. It's like you're the test example, basically, and then they're testing while they're doing it, but it is what it is. American companies will do that, even if they're doing overseas. I've seen some do that. But as far as the overseas companies that are selling, their knives to Americans, they're going to have to mass produce it, and they're never going to be able to do the testing necessary over time. That's just long periods of time. Spyderco love the steel test, old school style mule. Waiting on 15V Manix 2 lightweight still. Well, there's the man to ask. I still need to add some 15V to the collection. Yeah, you should. Kind of like if you had the recipe of Coca-Cola. There's a lot more than just ingredients. That's kind of true. That is true. Yeah, you can have the ingredients. You can know what's in there. They give you that, right? But do you know the ratio? Not as good as the misdemeanor, though. If you got a tanger, yeah, that's true. That's true. The misdemeanor is definitely a good tanger. Um, like I said, guys, on the 15th, Thursday, I'm going to be doing a huge sale. We have a lot of great shit we're going to be selling. Like I said, we got some customs, we got a lot of badass stuff, sharpening stuff. This is going to be, I don't want to say biggest sale that I've done and whatnot, because I've done like 70 plus I've done whatnot. But this one's going to be the biggest as far as the type of items, right? I'm going to have really nice, like I said, sharpening stuff, badass knives, even some budget stuff. Don't get me wrong, we're gonna have giveaways, we're gonna have all that. But I'm just saying, like the 15th Thursday, you are just not going to want to miss that one. It's gonna be a dude. It's gonna be a great one. And then if you are a member, we will be doing a live member, um, a live for the members, doing a giveaway here this week, probably Friday or Saturday. Um, Edgy American Blades found some S25 for me. I'm pretty excited to check it out. Hell yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And hopefully, some of you guys learned something in here. And hopefully, I was able to help. This feed was supposed to go through the shorts feed. Typically, you get a lot of people trying to learn. But hey, I'm not sure if it ended up there or not. I won't know this damn thing. I appreciate you guys being here, though, because you guys definitely made it entertaining. Work, life, stay tough. Till next time.